Hello, this is Over and Over and Over Again. We're live, and this is the Arsenal versus Liverpool live pre-match warm-up show. Hello, Richard. This is Over and Over and Over Again, the Positive Arsenal channel. And I say this is going to be the Arsenal versus Liverpool pre-match warm-up show. I've got some special guests joining me tonight. We're going to do a lot of the usual stuff. We're going to do a match preview. We're also going to look at some past memories of some previous meetings. Of course, there's been quite a lot over the years, and look at some players that play for both clubs. Actually, the list isn't as long for this game as has been in recent weeks. Actually, surprisingly enough, I thought there was more than there was, but when I looked into it, there wasn't as many. But there's some big names on that list. We'll go through all that a little bit later as well. And so I was looking forward to what's a big game tomorrow, isn't it? The Premier League. Premier League finally back after what seems like about 6 months of international football. Luckily, we've got the Premier League back tomorrow, and I know we're all looking forward to it. So without further ado, I will get the guests in. Actually, just before I do that, this is going live currently on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. So wherever you're watching it, please give it a like as well. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel on YouTube. I am very close to 400 subscribers, so if we can get there tonight, that would be really good as well. So here we go. So I've got some special guests as usual. Of course, we can't do a pre-match warm-up show without having Melvyn involved, and of course he's here as usual. How you doing, Melvyn? Are you okay?
Yeah, fine, thanks. As you say, lovely to get back to league football again, proper football. I didn't watch any of the internationals actually. Did not for a minute. No interest.
No, I watched bits and pieces, but not really a lot. There was one game that was on in the background when I was doing something else, so I kind of caught about 10 minutes of it. But yeah, it doesn't really interest me at all, I'm afraid. But we're back with the big stuff, of course, now. Also, I've got two very special guests actually joining me. They're both, I suppose we'll call them the enemy this weekend, although they won't be for the next hour or so. First of all, we've got Luke from the 1892 Reds podcast. How you doing, Luke? You all right?
All good, Richard. Melvyn, I can actually say I agree with what you said about international football. No interest at all. Something we could both agree on.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty agreed about that. And also from the 1892 Reds podcast as well, it's Ricky as well. How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, very well, thank you. And yeah, international football is no good unless it's the proper World Cup or the European Championships where you can have a drink and a laugh with your mates.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and even I've noticed those tournaments haven't been quite as much fun over the last few years. But anyway, I guess it is what it is. But luckily, we can push international football to one side for a bit and concentrate on what really matters, which is in this particular occasion, it's obviously Arsenal versus Liverpool. Of course, in history, one of the biggest games in English football history, isn't it? Traditionally, over the years, two of the biggest clubs, and it's always a big game, regardless of the league positions. And I know this season, we're probably both not as high up the table as we would have liked to have been or expected to perhaps be at this point in the season, actually. There's a couple of people in the comments already. We've got Russ there. Good evening, Russ. How you doing? And Luca as well. How you doing, Luca? Thanks for joining us tonight. So, yeah, I mean, what we'll probably start with, I mean, there's a few things I want to get through, but maybe just sort of start with this. Actually, before we get into the match preview, just you two guys there, just sort of give us a little bit of stuff about your channel, really. How long has it been going and what you're doing on your channel? Just give that a bit of a plug before we start.
So, of course, like as you said, thanks for letting us come on, of course. It's an absolute pleasure to come on. We are the 1892 Reds podcast. We've only been going for around sort of 6 months. I mean, our first actual episode, we recorded the 7-2 humiliating defeat against Aston Villa. So if it's, yeah, exactly what a start, literally. But I mean, we were talking about it for a while, and then we came into it sort of that sort of time. And yeah, pretty much we cover everything regarding with Liverpool. We've done our own sort of preview for this game as well on our channel recently. Obviously, we, cover mainly around Liverpool Football Club and everything else. So, yeah, pretty much that really. Match reviews, previews, done a little bit of content through the international break because we didn't want to watch that sort of rubbish football as we call it. So yeah, pretty much, mainly around Liverpool Football Club.
Oh, fantastic! So anyone watching, say, please jump over there. It's the 1892 Reds podcast. Is that where it is on YouTube?
Yeah, and we're also on Twitter and Instagram as well.
Right, fantastic. I mean, I'll put a link to your channel in the description of the video as well afterwards as well, so people can find it nice and easy as well. I watched a few of your videos. It's good stuff, actually. I like when you do the your best all-time 11s and stuff like that, or your worst 11s. They're really good there, actually. It's a good idea to do a show. I might have to do something like that on this channel at some point. Joe's in the chat as well. How you doing, Joe? He says, hi, Rich, Melvyn, Luke, and Ricky. He said he watched the Mr. Arsenal video on Rocky. Good words from Richard. Well, everyone who took part in that, it was great, actually. Obviously, a tribute to David Rocastle earlier this week, which was really good. So yeah, that was a great video. If you haven't seen that, check that out on Mr. Arsenal podcast as well, because that was good stuff. Obviously, looking ahead to the game tomorrow, then I suppose that's a good place to start. I mean, I'm particularly kind of interested to get you guys' point of view on. Obviously, what's gone wrong this season, I suppose, is where we start. I know you've had injuries, and there seems to have been a lot of players all been off form kind of at the same time as well, all kind of combined, hasn't it, really? I mean, from my point of view, watching on the outside, I get the feeling that you've not been playing with the same intensity that you had done over the previous 2 seasons. Do you think it's just because you've run out of steam? Or is there other issues you think going on maybe that have caused that?
I think the way we've been playing for the past 3 seasons with high intensity, it's called rock and roll football, as Klopp put it back in Germany. I just think it's caught up with us a little bit, and it don't help with COVID as well. COVID season, it's not like a normal season. We've had a few players that have come down with it, and I just think some of the players didn't really get a break before the season started. And I just think it's caught up with certain players and they haven't really recovered from it.
Yeah. I mean, up until Christmas, really. I mean, you were sort of top of the league, or certainly up in the running, wasn't you? And then, I mean, I remember you beat Crystal Palace 7-0 away from home, and it was like, wow, Liverpool are back to the Liverpool from last season. But actually, since then, is when it's all kind of fallen apart. So maybe it is just caught up with you finally, halfway through the season, maybe. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Luke? Why do you think it has all fell apart so quickly, really?
I think even before the Crystal Palace win was, how we won 7-0. Even before that, we were sort of riding our luck a little bit, like in a few games. I mean, the home defeat to Burnley is obviously a massive one. Like, we didn't play well at all. We deserved to get beat that day. But I mean, just since then, really, it's just like the mental. We've always been known sort of the last couple of years as the mentality monsters. Like, we can go a goal down and we'll be fine. We can come back into a game, win a game of football. I mean, even start the season against you guys, like in the reverse fixture, we went a goal down. We didn't panic. Like, we obviously got the result in the end. But if that was probably now, obviously it'll probably be a different story. We just haven't. I don't know what it is. As Rick said, like a bit of tiredness. The COVID season isn't great for everyone. But I just feel that it's sort of Liverpool have run out a little bit of luck this season. And, the table doesn't lie. We deserve to be where we are because that's how we've been playing this season. So it's hopefully the last sort of 9-10 games, for our season, we can turn it round and have a positive finish for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. You were saying about, conceding the first goal. I read somewhere that apparently only twice in your last 100 games have you conceded first and not won. Sorry, you've conceded first and not got a result at the end of it. Obviously, one of those was our game last season when you scored first and we won. But it's only twice in 100 games. I mean, that's incredible, really. And that's even including this season when things haven't gone so well. So you've been conceding the first goal this season. Maybe I don't know what's been going on. It seems to have changed. But I mean, Melvyn, what have been your kind of thoughts on Liverpool then? Because I'm from my point of view, I'm shocked actually at how quickly it's unravelled, really, because the last 2 seasons they've been almost unbeaten, and suddenly now in the last 3 months they've lost more games than we have, which is incredible, really, when you think where we are.
I think what you've said about a bit tiredness, perhaps. I agree with all what you said, but no one's mentioned Van Dijk. I know one man doesn't make a team, but he embodied everything about Liverpool. He took them the next gear up. They were a very good team before he joined. We knew what was missing, a goalkeeper and a centre-half. But they didn't buy any centre-half. They bought the best. And he took them a notch up. And him getting injured against Everton and not playing had to have an effect on that team. I don't care how good you are. You know, he epitomised Liverpool. He was, as Klopp is perfect to be their manager. If they could, Liverpool sports could have picked the manager around the world, they would have picked Klopp because he seemed to be the perfect fit. Van Dijk was the perfect player, stroke centre half for Liverpool. That was a very, very big thing. It's all about confidence. The game. And you could. I watched somebody. I think against Burnley. I think it was when you got beat at home. I'm watching the game, and I'm thinking, you're not going to get back into this. Normally, Liverpool have got that confidence. They can score at any time, any player, any minute, but I was looking, I think, they ain't going to do this. They've actually run out of ideas. And I think it was what probably a bit of confidence in a couple of players going, and that transgressed the other players in the side. All of a sudden, they got taken down a peg or two. And it's like, it became like an illness that everyone suddenly catches a cold off everybody. And that is why I think they are in the position they're in. It can turn around tomorrow. I mean, a bit of confidence, something happens, something clicks. You get the old, even he's not coming back straight away. Van Dijk, oh yeah, we're going to go 7 games. The beginning of next season, he's back. That will give the club a big lift, and it'll change on the full change on the pitch as well straight away, I reckon.
No, I can see. I mean, I suppose it kind of, like you said, one player doesn't make a team, and I suppose that's true. And it does seem as though Van Dijk missing's meant that there's been a lot of reshuffling, players playing in the back that would have been in midfield, so you've been weaker in midfield, and I suppose it's a knock-on effect elsewhere in the team, hasn't it? And like you said, Melvyn there, maybe confidence as well has played a part. I mean, I did want to kind of talk to you guys about obviously no fans in the stadium, and your home form was incredible, wasn't it? 60-odd games, whatever it was, unbeaten. And a lot of that was down to the fact that, you know, the crowd at Anfield is a 12th man. There's no doubt about it. You know, anyone that's ever been to Anfield, that atmosphere is incredible. And I know, you know, fans wasn't in for quite a long time before you started losing home games. But do you think that that's been a part of it? I mean, probably not the only reason, but do you not think that's maybe played a big part? I mean, I think Liverpool, probably out of all the teams in the Premier League, seem to have suffered the most with no fans than anybody else, sort of from the outside. Would you say that's probably a good point, or is that just an excuse?
No, definitely. With Liverpool, we're known for a lacklustre start, and then the fans sort of get on the backs of the players a little bit, or sort of make a bit of noise to wake them up, to get them going. This season, you say this season, to be fair, it was the back end of last season when football restarted. There weren't no fans in the ground. Liverpool didn't look the same team that were dominating the league.
No.
And we only needed, I think it was like 3 points from how many games, and we got that quick and it was done. But the performance level massively dropped. Right, we won the league, but we sort of brought that into this season a little bit. We had fans in for a little bit, won a few games, fans went back out again. And certain players thrive off the fans. If you look at Firmino, I love Firmino, but without the fans, he's not the player we all know he is. He's an entertainer. Even Robertson loves the crowd. He loves like geeing them up when he's bombing down that wing. And you just don't see that from him a lot this season. Certain players definitely need the fans in the ground. Milner said it as well, that we're struggling about the fans. So hopefully we get them in. Apparently there's going to be fans in the Champions League game, so that might help us a little bit, and we can push on in that.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's made a difference to a lot of clubs, actually. You look at how many more away wins there's been this season than probably any other season in history, really. And I think it has been that the fans not being there has been a factor. I mean, what do you think, Lou? Do you think that is, as Liverpool maybe had the biggest impact, on you guys than perhaps anyone else?
I think by far. I mean, I don't want to use that as an excuse, of course, but I think by far Liverpool have had the most effect of having sort of no fans in the stadium. I mean, all jokes aside, it doesn't affect teams like Man City because, you know, they love playing without it, but we obviously need the fans. I mean, as I mentioned before, like we, even for the start of the season and not the back end of last season when we came back, like we didn't have the same sharpness, same sort of momentum going into the sort of next or sort of to this season. I mean, when players like James Milner are coming out saying that we do miss the fans, I mean, James Milner's a leader. Like he's, you know, one of the leaders in our team. You know, he's the career titles he's won. You know, everything about James Milner, and for him to come out and say that, it does put a damper on the whole team, the fans, everything, everyone around Liverpool. So I mean, of course, like that, and surely, I mean, like Arsenal, for example, over the years where you've gone to Anfield, where there's been that great atmosphere, and you go there thinking, I'm not sure about today, we might not get a result, but now it's like, hold on a minute, like there's no fans there today. It's basically like a neutral ground for people. I think I see a stat a few months ago saying that this could be the record season where there's more away Premier League wins out of anyone for the whole season. So, I mean, everyone has struggled, but definitely for me, Liverpool have been the worst affected without the fans being in the stadium.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of feeling that anyway, even before you kind of recent sort of home defeats, even before that, you kind of felt that Liverpool wasn't the same intimidating place to go for teams this season as it had been. You could see by the way the away teams were playing against you guys at Anfield. Started from the first game of the season, wasn't it? When Leeds came there and had a go at you and almost got a result. And from that point onwards, you could see that it wasn't quite the fortress it was before. I mean, I think we've all been surprised by the number of home defeats that you've had in a row, but obviously tomorrow it's we're the home team, so it's we're not going to be able to take advantage of that. Unfortunately, we've maybe played the fixtures around the wrong way around. If we'd maybe been away this week, it might have been more in our favour. Perhaps that's the first game earlier in the season, but anyway, the fixtures have come out the way they have, and we just have to deal with it now. I mean, what have you kind of felt about the fans? Obviously, I think from an Arsenal point of view, it has obviously affected us because we've lost more home games this year than we have over the last 2 or 3 seasons, but in some ways, I feel it's maybe helped us as well because there can be quite a toxic atmosphere at the Emirates, can't there?
I think you're right. I mean, there's an argument that if there were fans in the crowd, Arteta wouldn't still be in the job because we had that horrible 3-month period where we couldn't buy a draw actually, and we did play some awful football where the confidence had gone completely. And so that's one situation. And you're right. I mean, we have got, I suppose, like lots of clubs, we have got toxic supporters. That is certain. And they do like getting beat, have a go at some footballers at times. And it's horrible thing to hear and see. But I think that really, last season, it helped when there was no fans around because Arteta was able to get his tactics across. Chat to the guys. You can see him actually during the game, not only the water breaks, but during the game, he's shouting and barking his orders. And they had no excuse that we can't hear him, boss, because there was no crowd there. For some reason, that hasn't continued this season. But I think that it's a bit of a catch-22 in it. I mean, if we start the next season and there's crowds back and we start off well, then we'll be doing well. The crowds get behind us, and that will help us even more. And that's with a lot of other clubs as well, most certainly ours.
No, I think that's true. I mean, the fans kind of feed off the performances as well, certainly with Arsenal. I think other clubs maybe get lifted by the crowd when they're not playing well. Liverpool perhaps being the biggest example I can think of, having been at Anfield a lot of times and witnessed it. When Liverpool aren't playing well, the crowd lift the team. They don't tend to do that much at the Emirates very often.
No,
so I suppose if Arsenal, like you said, if we start next season well at home with crowds, we'll get a lift from that. But if we don't and we start poorly, then it's going to go in the opposite direction. And we've got a few comments in. Joe says, "What's Luke and Ricky thoughts on Trent getting dropped by England?"
Not a problem.
No?
Not. But I'm more than happy for, especially the way this season's gone. I'm more than happy to see our players injury-free, going into the rest of the domestic league season. So if they want to drop him, that's fine.
What about for the Euros, though? Would you like him to be involved in the Euros? He probably deserves to be when you look at how he's played for England. Though.
Yeah, looking at his quality, of course, like he'll have to. For me, he has to start at right back. He's the goals he creates for Liverpool is just incredible from right back. I mean, is he just behind De Bruyne in the assist making for the last couple of seasons? It's unbelievable the talent he's got. He has to start for me for England in the Euros, but at the moment, in these sort of glorified friendlies, as we want to call them, these qualifiers. I'm more than happy if he stays out of them.
I mean, it just seems a little bit strange to me that he's obviously Walker's been brought in place of him at right back. He's a bit more of kind of what I consider a sort of old guard, if you like, of England, rather than looking to the future with the younger players. And I just worry with Southgate that's where he's going with it all. But anyway, I suppose we'll worry about that in the summer when international football takes over your life for a few weeks when the tournament's on. I mean, what about you, Ricky? So are you kind of pleased that he's maybe not been involved lately? Because it doesn't bother me if Arsenal players play for England or not. I've got to be honest.
Yeah, no, I was glad he got left out. Give him the rest that he needs. to recharge for the remaining games of the season. I did read today there was a few rumours that Trent's going to miss out on the Euros. And there was 2 players that were named, him and Jack Grealish, were going to both miss out. So if Trent misses out on the Euros, that's a bonus for Liverpool because it allows him to recharge and go again next season. But you've got Gareth Southgate in charge of England, so there's not much hope there, is there, winning anything?
No, not really. No, exactly. That is a big issue without a shadow of a doubt. Shane's in the chat as well. Doing Shane, thanks for tuning in. He says Liverpool ran out of steam, injury and players dropping form. Trent and Firmino. Yeah, I mean that's unfortunately what's happened, and I suppose it goes in. You know, you've had 2 great seasons in a row. I guess to do 3 in a row would have been a big ask anyway for anybody, wouldn't it? I suppose. And the Red Cannon's in the chat. How you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Prime Paul will be back for us tomorrow, no doubt. Yeah, I'm expecting that will be the case probably. And David in the chat there up the Arsenal, exactly. That's what we like to hear. And Buster says Liverpool have been rubbish this season, but bet they turn up tomorrow. Well, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it happens either, but we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously, coming up next midweek, we've both got European games, important European games. I'm guessing for you guys, obviously, Champions League's your competition, isn't it? You've won it the most times out of any English club, and obviously you won it 2 years ago. Is that now? Are you more focused on obviously trying to win that than bothering with the top 4 now, or do you want to try and do both? Obviously, I suppose that's the dream, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I still feel that this Premier League season's been so. Ups and downs. Like we don't know who's going to finish where, apart from probably City and the teams that are at the bottom. But I think everywhere else, I think it can always change. I still feel that the Champions League at the moment is, of course, the most important thing that we've got. We've been handed a great draw. Real Madrid's not the team that they have always been. We're on the better side. Porto and Chelsea in the semi-final if we get there. We've got a good chance to go far in the competition, and if we win it, that's great. I do think we've got every chance if we've got players playing in that right position. Because, we've had the likes of Fabinho playing centre-back half of the season, and he's been, in my opinion, he's been our best player this season. Like with our captain's been out, he's going to probably be out for the rest of the season as well. Van Dijk's been out, Gomez out. We've had some players that have done well in them sort of games to get us in a position we're in. So I still feel that there is a slim chance we can get in the top 4, but if we drop points tomorrow, then surely for me he has to put all his eggs in that one basket and go all out in the Champions League. So yeah, the next 3 league games, I think after we play you, where I've got Aston Villa and Leeds, which won't be easy games in between the Real Madrid fixtures, but I still feel there's a chance we can get in that top 4. We just need to get a decent run going for the remaining sort of games that we've got left.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're in a similar situation, I guess, with the Europa League. That's probably our only opportunity to get in the Champions League next season, because I don't think we can make the top 4 regardless. I mean, the top 6 maybe we could have done with beating West Ham in our last game, but I mean, what about yourself, Ricky? Did you feel that the Champions League is maybe the priority now for Liverpool for the rest of the season, bearing in mind that the poor league form that you've suffered recently?
If I was Klopp, I'd put the B team out in every Premier League game going forward. I'd keep the big names out of the Premier League games, strictly Europe only. Because I do think we've been handed the decent side of the draw in the Champions League. We can either meet, it'd be City, Bayern Munich or PSG in the final. So we need all our players fit, our best players. I don't think we can get top 4, regardless of the results. I don't see Chelsea dropping enough points for us to overtake them. Leicester maybe if they go for a bit of a bad run. But I just think you're risking the run of your players getting injured in games. Certain players will target players in games knowing that you're still in the Champions League. Just keep them away from it, pointless games going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of Arsenal fans are kind of thinking the same about us, really. Go for the Europa League and maybe not so much write the Premier League off, but maybe don't put it as a priority. I mean, what about yourself, Melvyn? What are you thinking about? I know for me, I want us to win every match, regardless of what competition it's in or who we're playing. But I know it's not always easy to do that with the squad that we've got in particular. I mean, do you think maybe we should be prioritising Europe over the Premier League, or try and keep going and get momentum in both?
I think we've got to do momentum in both, because even if we play our strongest team in Europe. It doesn't mean we're certainties to win it. Far from it. I think we just got to keep it going. We should keep our defence as solid as we can. Don't keep changing the centre halves every 2 minutes. Just get a consistent team. We've only got 10. With the Europe, might be 14 games if we're lucky. Just keep a consistent team. Go for both. Take every game and try and win every game, and hopefully we win more. We win all the European games. We ain't going to win every league game. So I would obviously sacrifice a few league games for the cup, but I think you've got to concentrate on the whole thing, because once you take your foot off the pedal, it's very difficult sometimes to put it back on again. So I'll just go for consistency.
No, I agree. Obviously, the previous 2 seasons when we've had a decent run in the Europa League, obviously we reached a semi-final, and then the year after we reached the final. Both of those 2 seasons, we did drop a lot of league points in the end of the season, didn't we? Because we were saving players and rotating the squad for the final and the semi-final, and in the end we didn't win it on either occasion. So it was a waste of time, I suppose, looking back on it. But I guess you can only deal with what's in front of you at the time, and you've got to try and manage the squad the best that you've got. And unfortunately, a bit like Liverpool, you've maybe dropped too many points where you'd want to be, so you've got ground to make up for the top 4. We've got ground to make up for the top 6, and when you've got a European campaign as well, especially when it reaches the closing stages, it is, I guess, difficult to manage the squad right, isn't it? To manage every game, to try and get the best result that you can, and maybe something has to give. And maybe for both of us, it might be the league in the end, and we might just both go for Europe, which wouldn't be a bad thing if we both win it, I suppose. At least we'll both be in the Champions League next season, guaranteed. So, which will be where Arsenal, Liverpool should be. Anyway, I think 2 of the biggest clubs in European football should be in the Champions League. Shane in the chat there said, if he could take anyone from Liverpool, it'd be the guy who recruits players. So it gets 25 million for Brewster. We give players away for nothing. He's got a point there. That's, we can't get 25 million pounds for our best players, let alone a young kid in the youth team that you've managed to get 25 million for. So well done to him for that, definitely. And Robert there says we're such a long way from the Arsenal we remember. Yeah, that's true. Kroenke took a lot of fuel to finance his American football club. Yeah, he did. Obviously, Liverpool, American owners as well. I'm not sure. He says also, Robert again says, I'm not sure about the African billionaire. It's not a good thing, as there are so many starving nations around Africa. Well, yeah, there is. And unfortunately, there's also a lot of very rich people in Africa as well. The money is very not evenly distributed, is it, in Africa? It tends to be. So, but, if we've got someone who's going to come into our club and invest in the team and want the team to be successful, then I guess that's what we maybe need. But I mean, that's another issue perhaps for another day, I suppose, but we'll no doubt that will come out sooner or later. I mean, just before we kind of sort of take a little trip down memory lane, for you guys, what areas of your kind of squad would you want to be prioritising to strengthen for next season, bearing in mind the injuries that you've had this season as well?
Well, I think the main area that we need to sort of look at is a striker. I mean, defensively, I think, Van Dijk and Gomez have been injured. Matip's obviously not, the most, reliable centre-backs. But I do think in that department, there's massive talks about Konate coming in. There's a lot of talks that will probably go over the line. There's also, I mean, with me and Ricky have said previous times before, we've seen Firmino's goal record isn't the greatest over the last couple of seasons. So having a centre forward to partner alongside Salah and Mane is very, very important for us next season. We can dream about Haaland next season. I don't personally think that will happen. But I mean, there's a few talks, maybe someone like a Paston Daka from Salzburg. Even in the Premier League, I mean, it's not going to happen, but even someone like Aguero on a free, wages might be a bit much, but we need someone that's going to put the ball in the back of the net and not heavily rely on our 2 wide players. So I'd say a striker for me is our main area to go for in the summer.
Yeah, because obviously I'm guessing that all the defenders that's been injured this season, the likelihood is they're going to be fit next season, aren't they? So obviously with Van Dijk in the team, you don't really need anyone else there. So I suppose he'd probably be covered there. Yeah, on his own. What about yourself, Ricky? What area of the team would you like to see maybe prioritised for strengthening for next season?
I think we need a centre-back. Hopefully we get the Konate deal over the line. A centre midfielder to replace Gini Wijnaldum, and a proper out-and-out striker through the middle.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's a good strikers are priority for every club, really, aren't they? You can't go far wrong, can you, with someone who scores goals? I mean, Aguero is an interesting one on a free. Like you said, his wages could be difficult, certainly for a club like Arsenal. There's been talk, obviously, because Arteta knows him well from his days at Man City and stuff, but I do think the wages would probably be a problem there. But yeah, I mean, I think he can still do a job in the Premier League for a year or two, couldn't he, Aguero? He'll score a lot of goals, playing for a team like you guys who obviously attack a lot, have a lot of chances. But we'll see what happens with that. I mean, I wouldn't mind him at Arsenal, I've got to be honest. I think he'd score more goals than certainly than Aubameyang has this season. What about yourself, Melvyn? Where do you think we need to strengthen first as a priority? Obviously, we need to strengthen everywhere, but as a priority.
Priority, I'd defensive midfielder instead of Xhaka. Then I'd have a smile on my face. So I think we've got the other players to compensate that around the team. I think our defence is fine. If we have Saliba coming back and he suddenly does it, I think I think that's the number one in my opinion. That is the first one. Get that one over the line, then anything else in my opinion will be a bonus. Yes, we might need a striker, but we've got Martinelli. I'd love to give him a chance next year. So I think he could be absolutely outstanding. And obviously a right back, but as you say, that is. I'm being greedy now. Give me a change, swap Xhaka over for somebody, and I'll smile again with Arsenal.
What about Ronaldo then? Obviously, Ricky was just saying about him possibly leaving Liverpool. Would you take him maybe as a replacement for Xhaka?
Yeah, I'd take. Well, I shut my eyes and put a pin to change him with Xhaka. But Ronaldo, he's a terrific footballer. I mean, doesn't he want to go to? Is it Barcelona? Was rumoured to go in to him, wasn't it? So why should he come? With all due respect to us, why would he come to us? He wants a new. He wants to go there, Spain, a new outlook. If Barcelona are after him, he ain't coming to us, is he?
There's always lots of talks of it's sort of ups and downs with Wijnaldum. We don't know whether he's going. I personally think he's going to go, but there's a lot of talk saying that he's still been offered the new contract. Barcelona have come out and they said that they had the debt. Was it the 1.3 billion debt? Whether they can afford him or not with the high wages he might want to demand. But I mean, I'll always remember a few years ago not a bit longer than a few years ago when the Alexis Sanchez deal went for Arsenal and Liverpool were heavily linked with him. The London lifestyle might want to attract Wijnaldum. And I think that was one reason why Sanchez, I think he wanted to go Arsenal anyway, but living in London, especially for him, than rather living in Liverpool, is something Sanchez was attracted to. So football's a funny thing, that things like that could happen. So I think he'd be a good signing for Arsenal, Wijnaldum.
Yeah, I think he would be. I'd love to have him at Arsenal, definitely. Yeah. I mean, is it true? I mean, what I've seen of him, he's a very good player, but when he plays for Holland, he seems to get forward a lot more, plays a different type of role, and scores a few more goals, doesn't he? I've noticed. Yeah. Is that true?
Rick will tell you a lot about that.
I can't stand Wijnaldum at Liverpool. He frustrates me. He's a player that really frustrates me. He hasn't made an assist in 3 years. Really? He's a central midfield player and ain't got one assist in 3 years. He turns into a totally different player for Holland. He scores goals. Whether it's the Klopp role that he's being told to play, but he is one player that really frustrates me. And I wouldn't cry if he left in the summer for free.
We can do a swap, Ricky.
Look, take Xhaka. Oh.
Yeah, do a swap, mate. The contract's been there on Monday morning, all right? No, Tuesday morning, not Monday, all right?
I did say it'd be a good signing for Barcelona, didn't I, Wijnaldum?
I don't think Barcelona can afford him, but anyway. But no, I mean, I do like Wijnaldum. I've got to be honest. I liked him at Newcastle before he joined Liverpool. So if we were to maybe try and get him, I wouldn't mind that at all. I've been saying quite a lot that anybody that we sign, I want to see players that we sign that have got experience of playing in the Premier League, because they haven't got to adapt and adjust to a new style of play in a new league. A lot of players who come from foreign leagues can take them 6 months, a year, or they may never adapt. Whereas when you've got a player who's already played in the Premier League for a long time, and someone like Wijnaldum, he'd be perfect because he can fit straight in. He hasn't got to adjust to the lifestyle, or he hasn't got to adjust to the climate or anything. He's already done it. So I certainly wouldn't have any problems with that if we did sign somebody like Wijnaldum. And I do feel as though that is now, as Melvyn said, that is a priority for us midfield. That's been the one area we've struggled this season, actually. Thomas Partey hasn't quite been fit probably yet, so we can maybe expect him to improve next season. But that is the area for me. I agree with Melvyn. That's the priority for us. And if Wijnaldum's going, and it's that we can do a deal, then let's get it done. Is what I would say. So if anyone's watching who's involved in either of those two situations, just get it done, because that would be quite good. I'd quite like that. What we'll do, we will come back obviously to this game a little bit later as well, but I do want to go back in time a little bit and have a few kind of reminiscences. I know Melvyn always likes doing this, I do as well. So we'll start with this. So previous meetings, and obviously, as I said at the start, Arsenal and Liverpool have met each other in many massive games over the years, cup finals, league deciders, which I know you probably won't want to talk about too much, and just various big games in between. I mean, Melvyn, you must have lots and lots of memories of Liverpool games over the years, so let us enjoy some of those.
Right. I started watching Liverpool when Bill Shankly, the great Bill Shankly, was their manager, and they were an amazing team. They broke my heart when I was about 9 or 10, 2 years running. Arsenal were going for a very barren patch, and we played at home to Liverpool in the FA Cup. We had never got past the 5th round for years and years. We were drawn home to Liverpool in the 5th round. They beat us 2-1. I remember going to that game. I was so sad. Anyway, next year we got very lucky. In the 5th round, we're going to go through, hopefully. Who do we draw? Liverpool again. This time, they beat us 1-0, again at Highbury. And that's the one where Yates and Baker, Yates of Liverpool, Ron Yates, and Joe Baker of Arsenal had a punch up on the centre spot. The ball wasn't anywhere near. No one saw it. I think just a couple of guys lying on the floor told you what happened. And they both got sent off, and Liverpool beat that. They've done us again. Anyway, the next season, it's the same season. That's right. Last game of the season, Liverpool, I think, were already champions, right? They'd wiped the floor with everybody. We played them. We went up there, and we just about got beat 5-0. It was unbelievable. 5-0. It was like, no, we never get beat. 5-0 last game of the season. When you thought Liverpool might say, we've won the league, take our foot off the old accelerator. So what do? We have a pre-season. The match fixtures come out. Who have we got first game next season, boys? Liverpool away. Oh, thank you very much. That's who we desperately want to play now. The champions away have just beaten us 5-0 a couple of months before that. Anyway, Liverpool go 2-0 up. Looks like it could be another thrashing here. Then it goes to 2-2. And I think near the end of the game, Liverpool won it 3-2. That was the first ever game on Match of the Day. I don't know if you're aware of that, boys. That was the first ever game. I watched it. Our next door neighbour had a station that no one else had. Very few people had at the time, called BBC Two. Because Match of the Day, the first ever Match of the Day was on BBC. And no, all we had was ITV or whatever it was called, Thames, whatever it was, and BBC One. But if you were up to date with it all, high tech, you had BBC Two. And so he invited us in, and we watched the game. We obviously knew the score because it's Match of the Day, but we had to see our team on. You never saw your team on telly unless it was like a cup final or something. Anyway, so that was that. The first 4 times I remember watching Liverpool, they done me in. Anyway, then luckily in 1971 I went to the cup final when we won the double with the Charlie George famous goal. That was a very, very hot day. I stood behind the goal and just sweltering, and I was right in line with when Charlie George hit that ball. I saw it coming towards me. I couldn't actually see the ball, so I'm shooting. What's going on? Then I saw the net shudder. Well, that's it. It's in, and that was it. I can't remember much after that. In fact, my father, who went, I stood behind the goal. He managed to get a seat, and I didn't catch up with him until the next day. And he said, where'd you get to? He said, well, I was out after the game. I said, I went in this pub. I met all these Liverpool supporters. He said, we had a good drink here. My dad wasn't a big drinker. He said, we had a good drink. He said, I try to wind them up. He said, talk about Everton. And they go, Everton? That's not even in Liverpool. That's nothing to do with Liverpool. He got so famous with it, and that was brilliant. Then Liverpool, the 60s and the early 70s were an amazing club. Every year, what they used to do, remember, there's no foreign players coming in, so the market was very, very small. If there was a club that had a fantastic player that season, Liverpool would always buy him. And what they used to do is don't put him in the first team. No. You've got to learn it the Liverpool way. You stick him in the reserves for 12 months. And when they got into the first team, not only were they as great as they were when they started, but they learned the Liverpool way. So that just went as a conveyor belt. And you used to think, what's going on? It's not fair. It's nothing to do with money. It's just the way that Liverpool were run. There's got to be something to break this. It just went on. He had the thought it's never going to be broken. It's going to be one of those like Celtic and Rangers every year. But that didn't happen. They actually did. And 70, '73 was a great game for us at Anfield. We won 2-0 from a goal from a penalty from Alan Ball and John Radford, and that was a smash and grab. Liverpool were all over us. It was in the mud, the old-fashioned, pitches in the mud, and we happened to win 2-0. I mean, the second goal we got, I think all the Liverpool team were in our penalty box. It was, it was like, they're just going at us, but we managed to do. Then in '79, I went to when we won the cup, I went to the Charity Shield at Wembley, and Liverpool beat us 3-1. And I watched a player that I've never heard of. And I thought, this geezer is different class. I mean, Liverpool were very good that day. But it was 3-1. It was a bigger gap than that on the day. And they were a bigger club than us at that time for football reasons. A guy called Alan Hansen. Never heard of him. And he played the game at a different level. Every time we tried to attack, this long leg come out and he'd be at the right place. And also, he moved forward with the ball, which very few defenders did those days. He controlled it and moved forward. I'll never forget that. I felt, oh my God, here we go again. Liverpool again. Here we go. I did one of the famous nights that I went to watch Arsenal Liverpool was in 1980, Highfield Road. It was the semi-final of the FA Cup. I think it was 4 attempts before the teams were very well matched. It took 4 attempts before a 1 goal by Brian Talbot, a header, put us through. And I was right behind the goal, sat right behind the goal as Talbot headed it. That was a great evening for me. Also, one that I remember very well was in 1985. It was when Liverpool were game, the top team. They were just the team. And you get a draw at home against Liverpool. We thought we'd done well. We beat them 2-0. And I don't know if you know, made his debut that day, Richard, 85.
No,
yeah, and he scored. I think he might have got I think it was the first or something. I don't know. I remember him scoring anyway.
Yeah, the first goal, yeah.
Here. And to beat Liverpool was fantastic. And then, well, I'll let you get one other game. I missed out the '89 one. I'll let you do that one, Richard. You may or may not do that. You might miss that one out. I'll tell you what I did. I went up to Anfield in 1998. We'd already won the league with Wenger, right? And we sat there quite relaxed, won the league, playing Liverpool. Let's enjoy it tonight, boys, shall we? Anyway, we're playing away. All of a sudden, 1-0 to Liverpool. We don't care. We are the champions. We don't care. Anyway, a few minutes went by, 2-0 Liverpool. We're champions. We're come on, Arsenal, 3-0, 4-0. When the 5th goal went in, all the Arsenal fans started chanting, "We're not singing anymore." I mean, it was a madness. But it was, I say, we got beat 5-0. It was a long way back to get home. But it wasn't the end of the world. It wasn't as if we needed that game to win the league. That would have been a complete disaster. But Liverpool were on fire that night. But we did play, in our defence, we did play a very, very weak team. I remember Anelka came on second half and we played a lot better second half. But first half, we had a very weak team and they murdered us, Liverpool. But that's some of my memories with Liverpool, some fantastic memories. And just to say, going back to Bill Shankly, I loved Bill Shankly. To me, he wasn't another football club's manager. He was just a person by himself. Every time he said something, you're like, listen, what was he saying now? He understood the game. He could get the best out of his players. He knew what he wanted. And also, he had a little bit of cheekiness about him. He was very, very good. And he was in the same stature as the Busbys of this world and the Bryant clubs. They were special. They weren't just shouting and screaming. They were fantastic people. And I'm very lucky that I was about to see these people in action.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, Bill Shankly was basically built the modern Liverpool, didn't he? I suppose in many ways, the modern era success, if you like, from the '60s. I mean, what about yourself, Luke? What are your kind of memories of losing to Arsenal?
Well, to be fair, we haven't won many at the Emirates since it opened.
No, that's true.
I mean, there's been a lot of draws, but a couple of defeats, obviously, recently. I mean, the first memory that comes to mind, really, I remember. I mean, for me personally, the most favourite one for me was probably the 2001 FA Cup final. Just that Arsenal.
How did you beat us in that game? I do not know.
I don't know. I really don't know. I basically sat there and I just knew, like, the team Arsenal had that day, like Henry, Lundberg, Bergkamp, the list goes on. And I just didn't know how we won that game. We got away with so much. Like, Westerveld had an absolute worldie in goal. I mean, Carragher and Huppier was just like, literally saving our skins a lot.
Well, Hooker was saying with his arm, wasn't he, at one point?
Yeah, literally. Like I literally thought we'd had 2 goalkeepers in before Lundberg scored, and just a stroke of luck, really. I mean, and at the time, me and Rick done a video last week on our channel, like the best 11, and Rick put Michael Owen in there, and then the 2 goals he scored. I mean, the first goal, maybe a little bit of luck, bit of a ricochet, but the finish was good. But the second goal, I mean, at the time, like that was England's back 4 and England's goalkeeper, and he'd done that to David Seaman, and the finish was on his weaker foot, right in the corner, like right at the end of the game as well. It was just literally, as you mentioned, Melvin, like a snatch and grab from Liverpool that day. And how we won that game, I don't know. I really don't know. But the one other game that really stands to mind for us, I think one game that we could have, I think we challenged for the title that season. I remember Ramsey had a great season at Arsenal. You beat us 2-0 and Ramsey scored that goal from like 30 sort of yards out, beat Mignolet quite, I mean, that season, it was sort of I think at the time we weren't challenging for the league, that we had a later run after, but that game sort of summed up, we're still sort of miles behind, and Arsenal were at a good stage at then. But one other game that really sort of stands to mind to me was the Champions League game. It was the Torres show, and I remember Torres scored that goal. He had his back to goal turn and just smacked it in the top corner. And then was it Walcott ran the whole pitch, squared it to Adebayor, and then when he scored, I thought, oh no, here we go, like we're going out of Champions League.
That put us through on away goals at that particular point. We
and then
mentally away and thinking we'd won, and straight away you get a penalty.
Got the penalty like half a minute later, and then I mean we had no better. Torres was the striker, but standing over a 12 penalty, we had no better player than Steven Gerrard stepping up, taking that brilliant penalty. And then it was for me, it was the Ryan Babel show last 20 minutes. He just came on and absolutely killed Arsenal's defence. His pace was just frightening. And the only other one that just sort of springs to mind a little bit, it's just so I've just seen lots of Liverpool Arsenal games. There's so many goals. I mean, I was at the Emirates. I was at the Emirates when Arsenal played Liverpool. It was a 3-3 draw, and Liverpool were 2 up. Yeah. Liverpool were 2
December.
up. That was right. Yeah. It was like a couple of days before Christmas. I was actually in the Arsenal end that day. I was with my brother. My brother's an Arsenal fan, so I was sitting there, and Salah got the second goal, and I just sort of elbowed him a little bit. I was like, we're in control here. And then Melvin's favourite player, Xhaka, turned up, and Ozil done that turn and finished it well. And just Arsenal, Liverpool got some crazy games. But I'd definitely say for me, my favourite memory was probably the FA Cup final 2001.
Yeah, no, it was definitely, smash and grab is definitely the way to describe that one for you guys, without shadow of a doubt. But, I suppose you probably deserve one against us in a cup final, didn't you? I guess after that, we'd won a couple of cup finals against you previously. So, what about yourself, Ricky? And what are your kind of best and worst memories, maybe, of games against Arsenal down the years?
So, I was born the year of the infamous 2-0 win for Arsenal at Anfield to win the league on the last day, when Thomas broke hearts. But I think two games stand out for me massively was when we thought we were going to break your invincible season at Highbury.
Yeah,
I think we were 2 up at half time, and then Henry just turned it into his own show. Just taught Liverpool back 4 a lesson, to be fair. So we had that game there, and the Arshavin 4 goals at Anfield. That was the year we were going for the league with Man United, and I think Arshavin just loved playing against Liverpool at Anfield. Harry scored 4 games on that. How we drew on that night against you, I think your goalkeeper had an unbelovable game.
Was it Fabianski in goal?
Yeah, he saved everything.
Was it Almunia? I can't remember which one played that night.
No, it was Fabianski.
It was Fabianski.
Yeah.
Was it Fabianski? It might have been, yeah.
It just seems like every goalkeeper that plays against Liverpool turns into a prime Buffon.
You still let him fall though. You weren't that good.
Oh yeah. But 2001, just the Michael Owen final. Just unbelievable how you just crumbled a little bit in the sort of like 10 minutes. But other than that, there's been some good games. McManaman scoring goals against Arsenal. Emil Heskey. I remember there was a game we beat you 4-0. I think you had Alex Meninga in goal for that game.
Yeah.
Robbie Fowler scoring goals is just unbelievable.
You got a hat-trick, didn't he, Fowler, one game against us?
Yeah.
Two in a row, 2 seasons in a row. He's got a hat-trick at Anfield.
And Crouch got a hat-trick against us?
Oh, yeah, the perfect hat-trick for
Crouch. I remember the one other game as well that, was not so much in the league form, but I remember Baptista got 4 goals.
Yeah,
the League Cup game 6-3.
Yeah, that was funny.
Just goals.
I think he scored 4 and missed a penalty as well, didn't he?
That's right. Yeah.
It's just loads of goals in the Liverpool Arsenal game all the time.
Yeah,
I think that game as well. There was a lot of talks about. I think because it was one of Jersey Dudek's first games back for Liverpool since the Champions League final in 2005, and he came back and conceded 6. So it's just there was a reason why we bought Pepe Reina. I mean, maybe might not have done sort of better that night, but. Conceded 6 goals.
Didn't Robbie Fowler make a comeback that night as well? Because I think he scored against us one of the goals for Liverpool as well.
I'm trying to think. Gerrard got one. I think. Did Huppier get one, Rick? I think maybe that day.
He did, I think Huppier and Fowler,
Yeah.
I think it was 4. I think you got it back to 4-3 at one point, because I think we'd been like 2 or 3-0 up, and then I think you got it back to 4-3, and then I think we got a couple of goals late on and missed a penalty, and that was a strange old game. Shane here mentions that Henry hat-trick as well when he turned Carragher inside out. Yeah, that was a memorable game. That when, like you said, the invincible run was just looked like it might have been ending, and Henry decided that he wasn't going to stand for that.
I literally had to. I clapped that second half. Literally, as sad as it was for Liverpool that day, like to lose it, like you have to applaud it. He was by far, in my opinion, Thierry Henry is probably the best player that's played in the Premier League. He's just sensational. Right, you just got to respect it.
No, he was, and obviously that particular game, he did what you need your best players and your captain and your leaders to do is to turn up when you need them to put in a performance. Obviously that day he did, and that was obviously a memorable game. There has been so many, and as Ricky said there, with the number of goals there's been in Arsenal Liverpool games, it's incredible when you look at it. I think I've read somewhere it's got the most goals in the Premier League history of games between 2 sides, and it's not surprising when you look at some of the games it's been. Obviously that 4-4, for example. I mean, when I first started going to watch Arsenal, which was in the very, very early 1980s, obviously Liverpool were the top team, winning the league every year, winning a European Cup, and they were the team that you looked at in awe, really. And I remember the first game I ever went to Arsenal Liverpool was at Highbury. It was near the end of the season, 1982, and I remember we got a 1-1 draw, and we celebrated as though I think we were like 5th or 6th in the league or something. Liverpool won the league, and we got a 1-1 draw, and we celebrated like we'd won the FA Cup or something. It was just that we'd actually got a draw against Liverpool. That's how it felt, and it was unbelievable. I'll never forget that. And then a couple of years later, 1984 it was, I think you guys had won the league 3 years in a row, and you'd had a poor start to that season, and we played you early on in the season. We won 3-1 at Highbury. We went top of the league. It was the first time we'd been top of the league for about 12 years. And that was really, for me, I was about 16 at the time. I just started working, left school, and it just felt like a really great time to be an Arsenal fan. We went top of the league and never seen anything like it. To beat Liverpool 3-1 at Highbury as well. There was a great free kick from Brian Talbot, I remember, at the clock end, which went right in the top corner. And that was just...
I remember that.
Yeah, just to beat Liverpool. I think that was the first time I'd ever seen Arsenal beat Liverpool ever. And that was just incredible. That was. There was a couple of games actually. That there was one in the League Cup, 1989. It was a 0-0 draw at Highbury, and it was a lockout. It was like nearly 60,000 in the ground. I couldn't get in. I got there, got off the train, and the queue was already like round the corner. I'm thinking this is not looking good, and I couldn't get in. It was locked out, and it was a 0-0 draw. So that game I never actually got in, which was sort of memorable for the wrong reasons maybe. And then I think it was the season after we played using the League Cup again at Highbury. And we did win that game 1-0. And I think it was just after we'd scored in the second half. Alan Smith scored. And there was a big, massive surge. I used to stand on a clock end right near where the away fans were. And it used to be like a fence that separated the away fans from the Arsenal fans. And there'd be like usually police in a line. And there was a big surge when we scored. And I got kind of pushed into the where the police were, and they threw me out the ground. So I didn't actually see the end of that game either. And I was driving home in the car listening to the final 10 minutes on the radio, and we ended up winning 1-0. So I think. Can
I just add one game, Richard? I just remembered one game.
Yeah, go on.
Right, it was the 19. I don't know if it was 74-5 season. Liverpool, last game of the season. We're playing Liverpool, and Liverpool had to win it to win the league and another result go their way. It might have been that Leeds or Forest were going for the title, or Derby. I can't remember who it was.
I think it was
right?
Derby.
Was it Derby? Last game, anyway.
It was
This
0-0,
game finished 0-0, right?
Yeah.
It was one of the best 0-0 games I've ever seen. And Keegan was unbelievable. I have visions of him going down the wing, spinning and going off again. It was the best performance I've ever seen of an away team. One of the best. And the Arsenal crowd were cheering on Liverpool. Honestly, they were playing so well, Liverpool. They were playing such amazing football and not scoring. I mean, we weren't a bad team, but Liverpool, and it was the atmosphere. Being a midweek game was good, right? The atmosphere. And you're playing the top, looks like the top team, right? And it finished up with the whole ground changed. At first it was come on Arsenal. But when they watched this Liverpool team play and the beautiful way that Keegan was playing, he was playing out his skin. I mean, it must have been one of his best ever performances. It was silly what he was doing with the ball and not score. It just didn't quite happen for him. The crowd actually turned. You could feel it. They were egging Liverpool on. I've never seen that before at an Arsenal crowd. And it was a great football match to watch. There's 2 0-0 draws at Highbury in my life that I've seen that I love. That was one of them.
Was the other one a Real Madrid one?
No. The other one again was very important. I thought it was very early in the season. We drew 0-0 at home to Leeds with 10 men. It was going to be us or Leeds. We thought for the title,
yeah.
And we played like 70 odd minutes with 10 men, and we battered them. Couldn't score. We battered them, and Leeds were very good. And we thought all of a sudden we've got half a team here. So that was a great game as well.
Yeah, I remember that 0-0 with Real Madrid in the Champions League. We'd won 1-0.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
and that 0-0. That's one of the greatest games I've ever been to. That was the 0-0.
That was Senderos played out of his skin, didn't he, Richard? That night, remember?
Yeah.
I think there's one other Champions League game I think a lot of Arsenal fans were celebrating, and it was 2019 when Liverpool beat Spurs in the Champions League final. I think that was.
I was at a wedding then. I was at a wedding. I had my phone because that was on YouTube. That game was being, for some reason, it was on YouTube. And my son phoned me up. He says, the game's on YouTube. I said, are you serious? So I looked at my phone and I saw, was it say Liverpool 1, Spurs 0? I thought the game hadn't started yet. What's they talking about? Then I realised it started. I couldn't believe it was 1-0 after 1 minute. And then I was watching it. The wedding had finished. We just like when you're eating, something to eat. I'm looking down and I'm praying, obviously, praying. And then we got at the end of the wedding, we got in the car, and you'd scored your second as we got in the car. So and relax.
Yeah,
because it'd have been a nightmare for us. Believe me, boys. I'd have to leave the country with no internet. I'd have to go to a country where there's no internet. All right, for the rest of my life.
Both our brothers are Arsenal fans, and they've said that Arsenal should build a statue of Divock Origi outside the Emirates, like just holding the.
I must admit, it's not often I'll support any other team, but apart from Arsenal. But that night, I was a big Liverpool fan, definitely. I've never been so happy that another team has won a game than I was on that particular night when Liverpool won that. So yeah, that was good. Yeah, but certainly couldn't have gone much better, could it? When they say Liverpool getting that penalty after 25 seconds, whatever it was. It wasn't even really a penalty, was it? So made it even better. So
it was against Tottenham. It was.
Well, no, yeah, I'd be disappointed if it went against it, wouldn't you? Best penalty I've ever seen. Shane there in the chat says, this is why this channel has the best match preview show on YouTube. Stories of previous meetings by players. Yeah. Now we enjoy doing that. It's good to get other people's memories as well, because everyone's got their own different memories, haven't they, of all the games and stuff like that. So that's always good fun. I mean, there's so many games I could mention. I just remember there was a goal impulse scored at Highbury once from about 40 yards, chipped the keeper against Liverpool. That was a good game as well. Going back, I think that was 92. And do you remember that game at the Emirates where there was it was 0-0 for about 98 minutes, and then there was 2 penalties at the end of injury time? I think Jamie Carragher got a bad injury during the game. They played about 12 minutes injury time. But it was 0-0. And then we got a penalty about 98th minute and scored. And we thought, Van Persie scored. We thought, we've won. And then in about the 101st minute or something, Liverpool got a penalty.
Yeah. Aboué gave it away. Aboué,
yeah, we didn't give it away, did he? The Liverpool player just ran into it.
Fell on the floor.
Lucas, he fell on the floor. That's probably I couldn't believe it. Like even the free kick, like the amount of time that was played on, then the free kick was given. Suarez took it, and you think like, all right, as soon as it's taken, blow the whistle, and then it looked clumsy, but it was never a penalty. Never a penalty in a million years. But the best thing about that game was right at the end when the whistle went, and then Wenger went to Dalglish, and then Wenger just went like, and then Dalglish told him to piss off. Like, that was just one of the funniest things I've ever seen in the fixture. But
it was.
Crazy 10-15 minutes.
That was a mad game. I think it was the latest 2 goals I've ever seen. I think it was 98 and 102nd minute or something stupid. It's like, what's going on here? But I thought it was Jamie Carragher, wasn't it, who got a head injury or something during the second half, and there had been a massive long hold up, and that was why. But even then, I still don't think there was that much stoppage time. They just wanted to keep playing until Liverpool got a penalty. That's what used to happen all the time, didn't it? In the 1980s, you just play till Liverpool scored, and that was it. Then it was game over, wasn't it?
It was never no more 1-0 to the Arsenal. It was always until Liverpool just get the penalty.
until Liverpool score. You just play until, and that was the rules, wasn't it? It was just play until Liverpool scored, and that's it.
Dalglish time. Dalglish time it was called, wasn't it?
Next goal wins, wasn't it? That's what it was. But, in the 80s, it seemed to be. But anyway, we won't mention the 89 game just because it's been mentioned so many times before, and I'm sure you guys are sick of it as well. But I mean, that'll probably be the most famous game ever played in English football, and it happened to involve our 2 clubs, I suppose. But we'll come on to that actually a little bit in this next section, which is another thing that I enjoy doing as well. I said there's not actually as many of these players that's played for both clubs as I thought there was going to be. I thought there'd be loads and loads, but actually there hasn't been that many. Well, there's a few, but not maybe as many as I thought there would be. If we start, obviously, there's one. I suppose we should start with this guy. Obviously, he's currently playing for Liverpool, isn't he? Having been at Arsenal for a while, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. What do you guys make of him? What you made of him at Liverpool? He's had a lot of injuries, hasn't he?
A bit unfortunate, I think, for him, because I do think when we signed him, I think he was probably one of Arsenal's better players when you let him go. I think he was doing well there. I do think that it took a bit of time for him to settle into the team until the way Klopp wanted him to play. But I think for a time, especially the season where we lost the Champions League final, Oxlade-Chamberlain for at least 3 to 6 months was one of the best midfielders in the country, and he was. He was getting back in the England team. He was doing everything that he needed to do. He got that massive injury in the semi-final against Roma, and it just ever since then, it's just never happened for him. And I mean, me and Ricky have had this debate. I mean, we obviously need a couple of fresh faces in the summer. Ox might be one of those players that might have to make way to make sort of financial, obviously, like a bit more financial backing for us. I personally don't want him to go. I want him to stay at least another season. I do think that he can still offer something, but I just think he's been very, very unfortunate with the injuries he's had whilst he's been at Liverpool. But I think he's a good player. I just think he's been a bit unlucky. No,
he has been. He had a lot of injuries at Arsenal as well, actually. He's one of those players that just seems to, you get them, don't you? Players seem to get injured all the time. They can't seem to get 10 games in a row without picking up some sort of injury. I mean, what did you make of him, Melvyn, at Arsenal, Oxlade-Chamberlain? I think he had potential, but he never made it. For me, he never reached that level because of the injuries, wasn't it, really?
I think he had it all. He was strong. He could kick with both feet. He was direct. He was fast. He had a good shot on him. He had everything for it to make a great footballer. And I think he was just a very unlucky player. He was injury prone at Arsenal, to be quite honest with you. It's not just when he went to Liverpool.
Yeah,
he used to get injured. Well, it was never great to get injured. But he'd get a bit of steam behind him and then he'd get injured and then be out for a few months and he'd come back, he'd build it up again. I think that perhaps he would have been better playing in a different type of Arsenal team, because I think we had too many players at that time that weren't actually, if you like, I don't say he's one of them, pulling their weight. And I think that we had a very, very good team, he could have been the cherry on top of it all, because he, as I say, he was terrific. I think he come on when we first signed him. He'd come on a sub against, was it AC Milan, Richard, or something? He'd come on and scored a couple of goals. Was it AC Milan? He scored 2 terrific goals, was it? Yeah. One of the Italian teams.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he took his goals so well. He was calm. He drifted into the box, went past the geezer and just pushed it past the keeper. Like he was playing on a 5-a-side pitch, that type of class. And as you say, Richard, he never kicked on, did he? His best season, probably the first couple he had with us. He never kicked on. It might be something to do with, I think, with the injuries. It must have been because he definitely still got it all. He still got it all. I love him to see him do it, but it's just not quite happening for him at the moment.
No, I think we did well to get. Was it 40 million we got for him, which was probably quite a good deal from our point of view for a player that had a lot of injuries. Although obviously he has got the potential, as you said. What about yourself, Ricky? Would you like him to stay at Liverpool, or maybe did you think it's time to maybe move on for him? He's not really quite hit it as he hit the heights.
For me, for 6 months he was Liverpool's best player. Like the goals against Man City in the Champions League, he scored against them in the league as well the same season, and he just looked a totally different player playing in central midfield for Liverpool for 6 months. Then he got that injury against Rome, and he hasn't recovered from that, I don't think. I'd like to see him stay because I think he offers something different than what we've got. But I think because he's English, you get a lot of money for him if you do sell him. I think we get more than what we sold him for. I think if you'll get what you bought him for, you'll just get a bit more, depending who buys him. There was talk about West Ham possibly in the summer to replace Lingard once he goes back to Man United. But no, I'd like to see him stay. He does offer something different than what we've got.
Yeah, I think if he could stay injury free, I think he would still be a good player. But it's just, is he ever going to manage to be injury free? Because he hasn't really managed his career yet, has he? Unfortunately, he's been one of them players, and it's a shame because I think he has got the potential. Another player who he wasn't at Arsenal long. He was obviously he played for Liverpool a bit longer. Yeah, he was only on loan at Arsenal, but I really liked him. What did you guys make of Yossi Benayoun? Must have enjoyed watching him.
Oh, Yossi Benayoun. He's probably I think he's one of the only 2 players that have gone to the Bernabeu and scored the winning goal for an English side there, including Henry's at Benayoun as well with that record. I liked him at Liverpool. I really did. I think he was I think he was quite one of our sort of underrated players in our team. Scored the equaliser in that famous 4-4 draw at Anfield. The Arshavin 4 goals. Again, I think generally in the Premier League, I think he was a decent underrated player, and I think for Liverpool, again, didn't really spend too much time there, but I think he was overall a decent player. I might like to have him to stayed a bit longer, but no, I think he was pretty good for us, to be honest, Rick. I don't know what you think on Benayoun.
What a weird player he was. I think he's one of the only players to play for 3 of the big 4 at this stage, or the 4 that were the biggest in the Premier League at the time. No one knew exactly what his position was or what he was about. He was just one of them players who just give his all in every game. And he had unbelievable technique and skill as a player, but he just didn't really kick on anywhere he went.
No, he never said. I mean, he was only on loan at Arsenal for sort of 3/4 of a season, and I thought he was really good. Actually, he was a really good technical player. He had great feet. He scored some great goals for us actually that season, and I really liked him. I wanted us to sign him permanently, but I think he was at Chelsea at the time. I think he went back there afterwards. But what do you remember of him, Melvyn? Did you like Benayoun? I thought he was decent.
I thought he was very good. I liked him a lot, and I was disappointed when we went back because he, as you say, he's different though. He's a different type of player. He could play across the front 4. He could play deep. He could do lots of things. He could come up join the forwards very quickly, and he could dribble. He could shoot. He could pass. And I wish we could have had him a bit earlier and had a good 5 or 6 seasons out of him.
Yeah,
he'd have been terrific. I think he'd have been a terrific player for us or any other team. And it's a shame we just got a few months of him. We got the taste of him, but that was it. It's a shame.
Yeah, I would have liked him to have had a lot longer. I say wanted us to sign him at the time, but we couldn't get it done, or maybe he didn't want to stay. I don't know, but yeah, he had a good season actually. I enjoy watching him. And a player who's maybe more of a legend at Arsenal, but came to Liverpool more towards the end of his career. Of course, Kolo Touré. What can you say about him? What an absolute legend! I just love the guy. I thought he was brilliant. What did you make of him at Liverpool? He was there a couple of years, wasn't he, towards the end of his career? I don't suppose you got the best out of him, though, did you? Really?
A lot of people say that. I mean, Kolo Touré, don't get wrong, great defender for Arsenal. I remember, was it the trial that he had at Arsenal when he kept 2-footing players all the time in training?
Yeah.
And Wenger was like, calm it down. Yeah. Listen, there was no question in his ability. I mean, when we signed him on a free transfer from Man City, it was like we've got a winner. In our defence, we've got a winner. That one season where we should have won the league, which obviously everyone will go on with the Gerrard slip, is the reason why we lost the league. I'll always remember a game we played against West Brom, and he gave the ball away straight away to the West Brom striker. Like, we playing out the back, give it straight to the striker, and they scored. And from that game, we drew 1-1, and that was 2 points dropped. So a lot of people say about, Gerrard's mistake. Of course, he's the big highlight of that, but Toure made a big one there. But to be honest, I think, he's coming to the end of his career. He was never, ever going to be at the heights of what he was at Arsenal. And obviously for the time he was at City as well for a couple of years. So, I'm kind of glad that it was just Toure that we signed from City, like ex-Arsenal players going to City. Like, you had Bakary Sang, you had Gal Clichy, you had Samir Nasri, for example. Like, you had so many players that went from Arsenal to City. So in our case, like, for the age range, it was just him that came along to Liverpool. But, he tried his best. He done what he had to do. I think he sort of helped the way for, the next up and coming sort of Liverpool team in the next couple of years. So, I've got not really much bad to say about Kolo Toure, to be honest.
No, so like you said, he just maybe was obviously towards the end of his career when he came to Liverpool. Really, what did you remember of him, Ricky? Then anything good or not really? I know he was past his best, probably, wasn't he, at that point?
Yeah, I'll just always remember that goal against Villa away he scored.
Oh yeah,
I think we won the game 6-0 when he scored, and he celebrated like we won the Champions League. But yeah, no, he was right. I don't think Rodgers really had the attraction of getting big name players. We didn't have a lot of money at that time, and he just fit the bill coming, someone with experience and to help the back four out. But yeah, he was past his best by then.
Yeah, no, I think he was. I mean, he was great at Arsenal, wasn't he, Melvyn? You still love him, the Kolo Toure. He was brilliant, wasn't he?
He's so enthusiastic. He's unbelievable. He was so enthusiastic. I mean, he did forget he was a centre half sometimes. He used to roll it up. Like, get back, mate. Get back, look at that number.
He started in midfield, didn't he? He was a midfield player.
He played right back as well. Didn't he, Richard? I think he played right back a few games.
Yeah, he did play right
back. He had that partnership with Sol Campbell, which was fantastic. And he was, I say, so enthusiastic. He never shirked the challenge. He could score the odd goal here and there as well. He didn't mind having a pop. No, he was great for us. He was very, very good. He was one of those players that perhaps technically wasn't the best, but made up for it in so many other areas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He just gave 100% every single game, didn't he? He was a brilliant player. I used to love Kolo Toure. And I seem to remember he had a bit of a nightmare once playing for Liverpool against us, actually.
No.
I think he got
yeah. He thought he was still playing for Arsenal that day.
I think you might have done, yeah. I remember a bit of a bad game, which I quite liked. Cheers, mate. Got us out when we needed it. Another guy who was probably wasn't that popular maybe at either club in the end.
No, what a player.
What did you guys sort of make of him? He wasn't Liverpool long, was he?
No, so I think he come on loan to us. I really liked him. I wanted us to sign him. And then we went, instead of signing Anelka in the summer, we went and signed possibly the second worst signing we've ever made in El Hadj Diouf. We chose him over Anelka. Yeah. And I mean, Anelka was a hitman in front of goal. He was just unbelievable. A finisher, and we chose that over Anelka.
Wow. I didn't realise that had happened, but that would be, you'd be gutted about that, definitely. I mean, we got rid of Anelka and bought Thierry Henry, so we didn't do too bad, I suppose. What do you remember, Luke, Anelka? Did you like him as well?
Yeah, I did. I mean, obviously, we only had him for a short time, but as Ricky said, there's no comparison. Like, I mean, signing El Hadji Diouf, like, to replace him, like, it's just, I don't know what our scouts were doing. Like, were they just watching Diouf over a park and thought, like, we'll go and sign him instead of Anelka because, Anelka may have been too expensive. I don't know. I'll always remember Nicolas Anelka as well for the wrong reasons as well. When he was, apart from this season, he was the last player to score a Manchester City winning goal against us at Anfield. So, like seeing players like Nicolas Anelka coming over to haunt us when we should have possibly tried to sign him. it sort of backfired on us a little bit. But yeah, there's no question Anelka's ability. I'll always remember that goal for Arsenal he hit against Man United against Schmeichel. You know, everyone goes on. I think everyone was going on about, was Ian Wright against Schmeichel? Could Wright finally get a goal against him? But then this young Anelka kid came about and just, wow, great player. You know, and it's just a shame you didn't really get to see the most of him at Arsenal. I know you had Henry, but I think Anelka would have been such a big signing for Arsenal for a few more years later on.
No, definitely, yeah. I mean, he obviously left under a bit of a cloud, really, the way that he went about it, and we got a lot of money for him. And I say we got Thierry Henry on the back of that and built a new training ground, so we didn't do bad out of him. But I just felt as though, I agree, he was just kind of reaching a great level. Actually, he had a great season for Arsenal. I think he was only about 20 or 21 or whatever he was at the time. He was only young, and you thought, yeah, he could be a big star at Arsenal for 5-10 years, and then obviously he got a bit greedy, and maybe that's where it was, and he went. But so he left a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth personally. But there was no getting away from the fact he was a great player. He had a great career in him as well, didn't he? Scored goals everywhere he went. What did you make of him, Melvyn? I know he didn't leave in the best sort of circumstances, did he? Really?
I think that's probably to do a lot with his brothers as well. I think they were his agents, weren't they?
Yeah.
I think that was where that.
Possibly,
but I saw his first game away at Derby.
Yeah,
I think it might have been the last game at the baseball ground. I went,
yeah,
and he, heard about him. And this guy's absolutely this. That. I looked at him. Oh, bloody hell, they're right. This guy's got it all. I mean, the speed, the way he collected that ball, it just went, was amazing. He could go past players, strong. He was direct, and he was just, as you say. I mean, can you imagine if we had both of them up front, him and Henry? I mean, that might have been worth watching.
Yeah.
But it wasn't to be. But I remember he scored a hat-trick, I think, against Leicester in the first half.
Yeah,
hybrid. Yeah. And someone said to me, allegedly in the know, he's going, I said, shut up. No. I think he's going. I've heard vibes that he's going. And I thought, no, he can't be. And it was right. A few months later, he was all gone, all over Red Rover. So, but he was a terrific player. Wherever he went, he scored goals. He got sent off against us as well. Do you remember?
Yeah, against Man City, wasn't it?
Man City, wasn't it? I think it was Man City, yeah.
Yeah.
But he
was a great player. But yeah, did you see that documentary about him? Actually, that was it on Netflix or something? That was really good, actually. An insight into his life away from football. Yeah, it was really good. I don't know if it's still available to watch.
How's he come across?
Well, I mean, a lot of people didn't like the way he came across, but I actually thought he came across quite well. He's very strong-minded, and he's not going to take shit off people, put it that way. But I quite liked him. I thought he came across quite well in that, and it kind of changed my opinion of him a little bit. And I'd say massive respect to him, really. And he did have a great career, and he was a great player. I just don't. Yeah. I didn't like the way he left, and that kind of annoyed me a bit, really. But anyway, it's definitely worth watching that documentary. I can't remember what it's called now, but it's good. It's really good. It's a good insight into his life.
Is it called? Is it called? I think Miserable Footballer. Is that what it's called?
The Sulk, I think it might have been called, actually. I think it might have been called The Sulk, actually. I think that might be what it was called. But it's really good anyway, and it's definitely worth watching if you ever get a chance. Another player I didn't think he did particularly well at Arsenal, but I think he did a bit better at Liverpool. Named Pennant. I don't know what you guys made of him. A bit of a reputation, shall we say, off the pitch as well.
I was going to say, did he have more police tags than appearances, didn't he? Probably.
Probably for us, yeah. But yeah, I mean, he did all right for Liverpool, didn't he?
Scored that goal against Chelsea, didn't he?
Yeah, I think that's the only thing I remember him for, that Chelsea goal. To be honest, I don't. Yeah. I mean, I see in the comments.
What goal was that? Genuine, I've forgotten. What goal was that?
I think it was the first few minutes of the game, and the ball come onto the right, and he chested it down. It was about 30 yards from goal.
Half volleyed it,
and he half volleyed it against Czech, and it was like it was going across goal, and Czech was at full stretch, and it was literally in the top corner. You couldn't get no more in it. And I think apart from that, that's probably the only sort of memory I remember of Jermaine Pennant being at Liverpool. Just seeing that he did lose the Champions League final in 2007. He wasn't in the squad for the 2005 Liverpool team. But
he won the Champions League with Liverpool. I don't know. So he didn't win it then, no.
No, he lost the final 2-1. But I think, I mean, yeah, as you said, not really given a chance at Arsenal, maybe. But I mean, at Liverpool, I just didn't really sort of work out for him there either, to be honest.
I think it was his attitude, wasn't it? That seemed to be off the pitch as well, like the trouble he's got in and all that kind of stuff. He just got a hat-trick for Arsenal against Southampton, the only 3 goals he ever scored, actually, for Arsenal. We won 6-1, and Robert Pires got a hat-trick as well. But yeah, I mean, he never really made it at Arsenal, did he? At all, Melvyn, Jermaine Pennant.
He was, when we bought, was it Notts County? I think we bought him from.
Yeah.
He was like, I think we bought when he was only about 16. We paid quite a lot of money for a 16-year-old at that time.
Yeah, I
and everyone was talking about him.
Yeah,
he was. Yeah, he was. And it just didn't happen for him. And he had the rumours were going about that he wasn't perhaps putting it all in, and he had a bit of a problem off. I mean, I don't know what team. I mean, I don't know who he was playing for, but one team he was playing for, and he left his car at the airport to go somewhere. And then months later, he was getting tickets, and he couldn't work out what his tickets were for.
Yeah.
Do you hear that? He left his car at an airport, and he left it there. Some Porsche or something, some razzy-dazzy car. And where are his tickets coming from? I ain't got. Oh, I've got one of those. That's right. Where is it? Oh, that's right. Months and months later. But no, I think that he had the skill. I'm not sure about. He wasn't a very big player. Doesn't mean you're not going to be a good player, but I think it didn't help that he wasn't perhaps the speed. He was very speed and tricky, but he didn't quite have that stature, in my opinion. That's the word I'm
he didn't. No, not physically. No, he didn't. I mean, I think he's a typical example of a young player that maybe gets too young, can't deal with the money and the fame and everything else, and he wasn't able to deal with that, and it ended up costing him his career, I thought, because he potentially could have had a great career, and he wasn't focused enough on his football, was he? Like you said, I mean, the fact he left the car at the airport, didn't care about his car, just goes to show his whole attitude off the pitch for me. Gary in the chat there said that Nicholas Nell was called Anelka Misunderstood. Well, there you go. Probably a good title for it, actually, because when you watch it, you kind of feel that maybe he was misunderstood. I certainly felt I've got a different impression of him from watching that. So that's a good title.
I nearly got the title right, didn't I? First 3 letters right.
Yeah, there you go. That's not too bad. And a player that I'm not quite sure how he ended up playing for Liverpool and Arsenal was this guy. Lovely guy, but how on earth did Jimmy Carter play for Liverpool and Arsenal? How did that happen? Does anybody know? Because I certainly don't.
No. Never heard of him.
No, I was just going to say that's how we're supposed to be a history club, but I can't remember who that Jimmy Carter
only played 8 games for Liverpool in 1991. And then he joined Arsenal after. He'd been at Millwall, actually. Had a couple of good scenes at Millwall. Looked a decent player. Went to Liverpool. Played 8 games. Never really. I think he might have been under Graham Souness kind of era. And then he moved to Arsenal. I think Dalglish bought him, yeah. But I think Souness maybe was there. I think it was during that period when all that was going on, and he ended up coming to Arsenal anyway, and wasn't particularly good. And I don't really know what happened to him after that. He scored 2 goals for Arsenal actually in 29 games. I think they were both against Southampton. A game we won 4-3. Which I remember.
That's right.
Game.
I just remembered, Richard. There is one person that Arsenal could have back that Liverpool took. You can have the physio back, Chris Morgan.
Oh,
because every since he's gone to Liverpool, we've just had injuries galore. So Arsenal went back.
But that's what they were saying with him when he was at Arsenal. There was a lot of muscle injuries to players.
Yeah,
he's left Arsenal. Arsenal haven't had a muscle injury in months. He's come to Liverpool when they're getting them.
Well, at least he's consistent.
Yeah, there is that.
He's certainly consistent. There's no doubt about that. There's a couple of players from you two won't remember, but I know Melvyn does. Obviously, Wayville probably knows who this guy is. Famous player for both Arsenal and Liverpool. Ray Kennedy, of course.
Why did we let him go?
Brilliant player for Arsenal.
Ray Kennedy. He came in the team, I think, when he was 18 or 19, straight from the reserves. No one heard of him. And he, after about a few minutes, got a very important goal for us in a final. Kept us in the, it's a 2-legged final in the Bears Cup final. And then the next season, we won the double, and he was outstanding. And he played another year or 2 for us. He played as centre forward with John Radford, twin centre forwards. He was unbelievable. He was strong, big. And then Liverpool bought him. Shankly bought him. And we thought, why have we done that? But what Shankly did, he made him as a midfield player. And he won every honour in the game. And loads of them as well. The leagues and the European Cups. He was a midfield. He used to glide along. He was a big guy. Very, very. He was a big 6'2", 6'3" centre forward. And he played him in midfield, Shankly. And he just used to glide along the pitch. His touch for they say this thing. He's got a great touch for a big geezer, but he had a fabulous touch for a big geezer. He had a fabulous touch for a little geezer. You know what I mean? He had that touch where he's running and his passing was all in one movement. his movement. He could turn and put people on the wrong foot. He was great in the air. Being a centre forward, he was brilliant in the air. And Liverpool got the best out of him, even though he won 3 big trophies in 12 months, just over 12 months with us. Liverpool by far got the best out of him. Phenomenal player for us. Terrific. And it was sad. He's been ill. He's got, I think it's Parkinson's. Sad. I mean, he played for Swansea, right?
Well, I was just going to say that. Yeah, that was the only time I saw Ray Kennedy play live was when he scored against us at Highbury for Swansea. They won 2-0 and he scored one of the goals, and even the Northback was cheering like when he scored.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah,
but he played for Swansea, and after a bit, his performances went down. And the manager goes, "What's the matter with you? What's the matter with you? You know, you've got to put it in." He said, "I'm trying, boss." And it worked out. He had the beginnings of that, and they didn't even spot it. He was playing with it. But and I've been to a couple of testimonials from Ray Kennedy, and so glad I went. Brilliant.
Yeah,
What a person.
He was. Yeah, and Liverpool obviously did get the best of him as well. 373 games he played for Liverpool. He played 213 for Arsenal, so he's probably the player that's played the most games for both clubs actually over his career. So probably the most famous Arsenal-Liverpool player, perhaps on that basis. And obviously won the league with both clubs as well, European trophies as well. So another player that maybe we could have mentioned him earlier, Melvyn, when you mentioned that first ever game on Match of the Day, because that guy
He scored. Jeff Strong.
Jeff Strong.
He was a very good player.
Yeah, I think that was that his debut for Liverpool, and he scored against us, or did he still play for us then that day?
No, that 3-2 he scored for us. Him and Joe Baker scored for us to make it 2-2.
It must have been.
And then Liverpool got one near the end.
Yeah, because he joined Liverpool.
He was a very good player. He had a little trick. Him and Joe Baker, similar. They loved doing diving headers. If the ball was like 6 inches off the ground, forget about your feet, mate. We'll have a little dive, and they would always flick it in. They were brilliant. And with Jeff Strong, not only he played the old-fashioned number 8, if you like, right next to the centre forward. But for Liverpool, again, he played in any position for them. He could play. He played at back. He played midfield. He played up front. He's just one of those utility players that was actually good in every position, not having to just play in every position. He was good wherever he played. And I don't know why. I mean, I know they were they were a better team at the time, but it was such a shock to lose him because he seemed so settled in our team. And we had a terrific forward line. No, we never won anything when he was around because I think our defence wasn't the best. But he was a terrific, and I was shocked when he went, actually. Shocked and dismayed.
Yeah, 1964. He played 201 games for Liverpool, 137 for Arsenal. So it's sort of evenly split over most of his career, really, between the two clubs. But had a decent career, good player. I never saw him play, obviously, but yeah. And there's a goalkeeper that I know Melvyn loves as well.
Oh, James Furnell.
Yeah,
the famous James Furnell.
Jimmy Furnell. In much glory at either club, I don't think, did he really?
Fingers Furnell, they called him. It should be No Fingers Furnell, the way he played sometimes, but there we go. They nicknamed him. Yeah. But he was Liverpool's reserve goalkeeper when we bought him because you had Tommy Lawrence in goal. Remember him? The name? Tommy Lawrence?
Yeah.
He was nicknamed. You know what his nickname was?
No.
He was a big goalkeeper. The Flying Pig, they nicknamed him. Yeah. They didn't care those days. They did not care.
I thought that was
he was with Liverpool for years, Tommy Lawrence.
I thought that was Neville Southall back then.
He could have been. They could have been related. But no, I think Tommy Lawrence. It was in that. Hold on a minute. Was it him? I think it was Tommy Lawrence that got interviewed on the street once, and he goes, "They're talking about a famous Everton-Liverpool game." He goes, "Hello, mate." He goes, "Do you remember this game?" Remember, he said, "I played in it," and it was Tommy Lawrence. I think it was the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Was it? It was him, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Amazing. Anyway, Tommy Lawrence was your main goalkeeper, and you had a reserve called Jim Furnell, and we bought him. And he was okay for us, but at the end of his career, he wasn't. He made a few howlers. One in the FA Cup, where a minute ago he managed to drop a header from outside the box in the last minute of an FA Cup tie. We were winning 1-0, got beaten in the replay at Birmingham, and that was the last time he put a green jersey on for us. I think in the first team, anyway.
Yeah, I think obviously again he's a bit before my time, but I've heard a few horror stories about.
Don't rub it in. Don't rub it in, Richard.
but yeah, so that was him. And there's actually another goalkeeper that didn't actually play for Liverpool, though he did sign for Liverpool for briefly.
Yeah,
Alex Winger.
I just thought with him.
Yeah, obviously he didn't actually play a game for Liverpool in the end. He played 64 games for Arsenal, won the double, or helped us win the double. I know he was understudy at David Seaman, but yeah, I don't know what happened to him. He joined Liverpool and didn't play. What sort of happened? Was he just not needed?
Fourth choice.
Fourth choice, but he also done a lot with the coaching, like sort of the youth team with the younger goalkeepers coming through as well.
Right.
So yeah, I think he was 38 when we signed him as well. It was just like, it was a really strange signing, but
38.
something like that. Yeah, really strange.
It wasn't that long ago. I mean, he played for Arsenal years ago, and yet he wasn't that long ago. He joined for Liverpool, so he must have been.
I think it was. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was the year we won the Champions League. No, it was the year before, wasn't it?
It was the year before when we lost Alisson for ages, and we lost another goalkeeper as well to injury. I think they panicked and just bought.
We lost. It was Alisson and Mignolet, and then we had. Who did we? I can't remember who had him goal, but like we've had like Andy Lonergan as well. Like that's just strange. Liverpool goalkeepers, like older Liverpool goalkeepers, were signed over the years. Yeah,
that was certainly raised eyebrows on Liverpool side. Alex Meninga about 4 years ago, and he'd left Arsenal probably like 20 years ago. It's like, well, how did that happen? But anyway, I think he was a decent goalkeeper for Arsenal when he played. He was all right. He was a decent backup. There are a few of the old-fashioned players. I always like to find a few old-fashioned players as well. The oldest one I managed to find was this guy here, who played for Liverpool he played for Arsenal in 1894 and Liverpool in 1895. There you go. Anyone know who that is?
No,
not a clue.
You know Melvin? He was a goalkeeper. I know a goalkeeper actually.
His stripes, a goalkeeper in his stripes. Is he inside then or something? Has he done something wrong?
He probably did. I don't know. His name was Harry.
A nice
Storer.
Button-down shirt he's got. I don't know.
It's a nice kit.
It's a nice little button-down shirt. That
he looks like a wrestling referee.
Yeah, well, there you go. Then footballers used to be a bit different in the 1800s, didn't they? But yeah, his name's Harry Storer. He was a goalkeeper. He played 1 season for Arsenal and about 4 seasons for Liverpool back in the end of the 1800s. So there you go. So he's the oldest one I managed to find. And then there was a guy actually, he was on this show a couple of weeks ago, or in fact last game, because he played for West Ham as well, and Liverpool and Arsenal. Anyone know who that is? Not a very good picture, but he's quite old.
Nope.
Not a clue.
His name is Charlie Satterthwaite. And actually, for Arsenal, he played 141 games for Arsenal, scored 48 goals, and that was in 1904 to 1910. And 1899 to 1902, he played for Liverpool, played 46 games and scored 12 goals. So he scored a few goals in his career. And he played for West Ham, I know that as well, throughout his career. And probably my favourite one out of these old players is this guy who played for Liverpool 1914 to 1919, and he played for Arsenal 1919 to 1921. Does anyone know who that is?
Don't know, but he looks like he was smoking sound in his eyes there.
Yeah. Anybody know who that is? Melvin, do you know?
No.
I'm gonna guess his name's George.
No, it's not.
I'm saying Billy.
Could have been George, but it isn't actually.
He looks like a Billy to me.
No, he's not Billy. His name is Fred Pagnam.
Oh, it's close.
And not bad. An interesting story with him, right? There was a game before the First World War in 1915 where Liverpool played Man United, and there was accusations afterwards that the game had been fixed so that Man United got relegated. It was like a game that apparently had been fixed, and he was playing for Liverpool at the time, and he didn't want any part of it. And all the Liverpool players were told not to score a goal, and he was determined to score a goal because he didn't want to be a part of the whole deception. And after that, he obviously left Liverpool on the back of that because a lot of players were found guilty of match fixing, and he didn't want to be part of the club. So he came to Arsenal, and he was our top scorer in the first season after the First World War. He ended up scoring 27 goals for Arsenal. But he was a good player for Liverpool as well. He scored 28 goals in 37 games for Liverpool. So he actually was one of their top goal scorers at the time. But he just didn't want to play any part in that match fixing. And apparently, he was running around, going out of his way to try and score. And all the other Liverpool players were saying, "Don't score, you mustn't score, because we've got money on it." But he didn't want none of that. So yeah, so that was him. So he was quite interesting. And finally, there is one more actually, who is he's a bit of a dodgy one because he didn't actually play for either club in the sense that he didn't make any appearances, but he was at both clubs. If anyone knows this, then it's a bonus point.
Nice hair.
It was nice hair. 1960s it was.
God dear me. That is
Anybody
some hair.
know?
Some barnet.
Looks like a jockey.
He does look a bit like a jockey, yeah.
Or a boxer.
He's got a nose like a boxer.
I mean, God.
But any
He looks
ideas?
He looks like Warren Beatty from Hair's. What's that? That film, that famous Warren Beatty, the actor, with that hair. Oh, dear. I'll tell you what. I bet he didn't run fast. Was that we got to come right off, wouldn't it? If he run fast.
I'm gonna go for another George.
It isn't a George, no. It's not a George, unfortunately. His name actually is Tom Stanton, and he was at Liverpool in 1965. Didn't make any appearances, so he moved to Arsenal in 1966. Again, he didn't make any appearances at all, and he moved on. He was most famous for playing for Bristol Rovers in the 1970s. So there you go. If anyone's a Bristol Rovers fan, they probably do know who he is. But
or recognise the wig.
Because he did fight for both clubs, but he never actually played for both of them. But I suppose we have to finish with the only guy we can possibly finish with. It has to be this guy. Which I know you two would love. Obviously, Michael Thomas scoring that goal. There was a comment actually about that from EDJ in the chat there. Says he was always surprised that Michael Thomas went to Liverpool, considering he won the title at Anfield and scoring that goal. Yeah, it was a surprise. I mean, what was he like at Liverpool? Because to be honest with you, it annoyed me that he went to Liverpool actually. So I didn't really follow. I know he won the FA Cup, scoring the cup final, didn't he, for you guys? What was he like for Liverpool overall?
He got a great welcome. Didn't really see too much of him, Rick, did we? To be honest, like Michael Thomas.
No, he was like a bit. My early years, to be fair, didn't really see much of him. But from what I've been told, he was all right. His better days were at Arsenal.
Yeah.
But yeah, he done all right for us. He's on social media. He still associates with Liverpool as a football club. So yeah, nothing against him really.
Yeah, I mean,
apart from that 89.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, yeah, exactly. I suppose he does still actually play for the Liverpool Vets team, apparently.
Yeah.
Liverpool Vets team as
yeah, he played in some of the Masters games.
Yeah.
He played for Liverpool in a few of them.
Yeah, he did, yeah, which was a bit of a surprise that he played. I think he still lives in that part of the world, actually.
Yeah.
I think I think that's where he lives now. But yeah, obviously, he actually played, funnily enough, he played 206 games for Arsenal, scored 30 goals. He actually played 124 for Liverpool, so not that many less, actually, surprisingly enough. He only scored 9 goals for Liverpool, though, but doesn't matter how many goals he scored in his career. He'll only ever be remembered for that one, really, won't he, I suppose, for good and bad, one way or another. But yeah, I suppose who would have thought on that night when he scored that goal that he'd end up one day playing for Liverpool and actually scoring an FA Cup final as well for Liverpool against Sunderland, wasn't it? So
he got the first goal, didn't he? He got the
first goal. Yeah, I think Ian Rush got the second one, didn't he, that day? And to break the record for FA Cup final goals, actually. I mean, he was a player when Ian Rush, his goal scoring record.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. I've never seen.
I mean, for us, if anyone gets near his all-time goal scoring record, it's just, Is
it 300 odd he scored for you guys?
Is it 351, I think, or something like that? He's just ridiculous. No, something like, I think maybe just less than that. I think it's like 320 or something like that. But it's just unbelievable, that record.
No, I can remember watching him. Obviously, when I first started going to Arsenal, he was the top man, really. And every time you saw him play, he'd score. And obviously, it was us that beat the record, wasn't it? He'd never scored in a game they'd lost before until that cup final when we came back.
I went to that. I got that one. Yeah, I went to that cup final
as well. Yeah, I did go to that as well. But yeah, that was the first trophy I'd actually seen us win. In actual fact,
all we used to see round about then with Rush is Dalglish get the ball, turn, push it forward, and Rush was on the end of it every single time. And he probably did, but I don't think he ever missed a chance. But he probably did. I don't remember him missing any chances. Once he went on through on goal, it was like, well, put the ball back to centre spot before he shoots. He's going to go in. So what's the point?
Yeah, no, he was unbelievable. His goal scoring record was ridiculous. I mean, I think he scored like over 40 goals 2 or 3 seasons running for Liverpool. That was unheard of at the time. But for a player to score that many goals, it was just incredible. So yeah, what a fantastic player he was actually. Just I think he came back to Liverpool at the end, didn't he? Maybe didn't do quite so well. I remember him playing for Liverpool much later on because he'd been abroad and stuff, didn't he? And came back and he wasn't quite the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't he say he didn't like it because they didn't speak English or something? Was that Ian
Yeah.
Russell?
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't like it. Shane in the chat there said that Tom Stanton looked like a Lego man. Well, I suppose his hair is a bit like Arteta's hair, isn't it? Maybe they got the same. Perhaps that's where that happened.
Arteta will always be Captain Scarlet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair comment. Yeah,
That's good. That's good one. I never heard that. Yeah.
But I always enjoyed looking at those old players actually because there's always some good ones. So there wasn't maybe as many. I'm surprised that there wasn't a load more players that played for Arsenal actually over the years, but there's not really been that many considering the history of both clubs really over the time. But anyway, I guess that's what it is. I can't think of any more. If anybody else can think of any others that
I can't think of any. I looked. I can't see any.
But yeah, definitely Fred Paggins is my favourite one for not wanting to get involved in match fixing and wanting to score a goal. His teammates were fun to his own teammates were tackling and stopping scoring. So that must have been a great game to in 1915 or whatever it was. But anyway, enough of that now. What we'll do, obviously, we'll move back onto tomorrow's game before we finish, and we'll start with what we think this might be. So the predicted lineups then, I mean, been an international break, it's always hard to know what's going to come really, and it's difficult to read Arteta anyway. I mean, Luke, what are you guys thinking in terms of Liverpool's lineup for tomorrow? What are you expecting? Are you expecting a lot of changes maybe from the last game against Wolves, or you got any injuries, new injuries?
I mean, fortunately, through an international break, no new injuries, which is quite a rarity for us. I hope he doesn't change it too much because I know we want to sort of rest our players for the first leg on Wednesday, but I do hope he picks a strong team for this game tomorrow. So if I was to pick an 11 now, I'd probably say Alisson in goal, back four, Trent, Robertson, Kabak and Phillips at the back four. My midfield three, I would go with Thiago, Fabinho, and I'd probably put James Milner in there. I think Wijnaldum's played a lot of international football recently in this international break. I think Keita might not be up to scratch in this sort of game at the moment. I think James Milner probably be the best fit, I would say, to go in there and take the armband. And the front three, I would stick with Mo Salah on the right, Mane on the left, and I would probably put Jota up front, just in front of Firmino over this game.
Is he fit now, Firmino? Because he's been out, hasn't he, injured?
I think he's been past fit. I think he's been back in training the last few days, but I think he'll just be all right for the bench. I don't know. Right. I think Jota will probably start. I think Firmino will be on the bench tomorrow.
Okay, well, that wouldn't be a bad Liverpool side, to be fair, would it? If that was the team. What about yourself, Ricky? You think it's something similar, or would you maybe make a few changes to that?
I'd go with the same back four and the goalkeeper. I'd play Thiago, Fabinho, and I'd go Keita in the midfield. And the front three would be Salah, Mane, and Jota, and then probably bring Bobby on the hour mark just to get a few players off for the Real Madrid game. Yeah. I mean, I guess there's not going to be probably too many changes from that. I wouldn't imagine. We'll see, obviously, tomorrow. What about yourself, Melvyn? What are you thinking for Arsenal? It's impossible to know what Arteta's going to think, really, isn't it? But we seem to have a few injury issues suddenly have come up in the last day or two. Xhaka might be out, David Luiz might be out, Saka might be out, ESR might be out.
I've got more chance of winning the lottery than guessing what Arteta's going to play, but I'll have a go anyway. I think if the injuries are what you say, I think he'll play with obviously the goalkeeper. He could play, knowing him, play Bellerin at right back because of the Mane down the left. I just think they're similarly matched. I think he might do that. I'm told if you say Luiz might not be playing, he might go with bloody hell. Was he going to go with? He won't go with Mari and Gabriel. I want to see obviously Gabriel. He might put Holding in. Oh my god! Oh yeah, Holding. Holding Gabriel.
Holding's done well against previously.
That's what I think. Yeah.
Holding's done well against Mane.
Yeah, he has. Yeah. But
maybe that might not be a bad thing for this game, anyway.
And Tierney, midfield. If Xhaka's not playing, get in there, son. You'll have El Neni and Partey. I'll be having a party if Zach ain't playing. That'd be good. And I think is Rose Smith, you say, is all right? He might be all right or not.
Well, I'm not sure yet. There's a doubt about him.
Right, you've got Aubameyang on the left. You'll have Pepe on the right. You'll have Lacazette in the middle, and behind that, who have we got?
Odegaard.
Sorry, I've got him. That's the team I think he'd play if those injuries, as you say. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think David Luiz is the only one that I think they're pretty much saying he's almost definitely not playing. I think the others they won't be known for certain until tomorrow. But yeah, I think he'll go Leno. I think he'll play Cedric right back. I think it will be Holding because David Luiz is out. Gabriel, obviously Tierney will play left back. If Xhaka doesn't play in midfield, I think he might go Ceballos and Partey. I think he might go with Ceballos instead of El Neni. I know El Neni had scored a good goal for Egypt, didn't he, in the international break? But I don't know. I fancy he might go Ceballos against Liverpool, and then I think it'll be Odegaard, and then if Saka's fit, he'll play. But if not, probably Pepe. If Smith Rowe's not fit, I'd put Martinelli in on the left actually.
It's not what you're putting, though, Richard. It's what he's going to put in. And that's the problem. I prefer you picking the team, mate.
I'll go with Martinelli and then Lacazette maybe up front. And I don't think Aubameyang is playing well enough to justify his place.
You ain't going to drop him.
Well, he dropped him against Spurs, didn't he? And we won. So
yeah, that was personal.
The president's been set. So I don't know. I mean, I think we have got a few doubts about certain players. So I think we won't probably know for certain until the team comes out at 7 o'clock tomorrow, will we? For certain to know, because like you said, it's impossible to read Arteta because he makes so many changes. Half the time he doesn't need to, but this week he might have to make them because of injuries and stuff, which is a shame because we sort of started to build up a little bit of momentum, perhaps in recent weeks. But anyway, we'll see what happens tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, if everybody's fit, then I think we've got a better chance than if we have to shuffle it around. So we'll finish with how we always finish with this. Yeah, so score prediction then for the game. It's a difficult one to call, isn't it? I think. We can start with you then, Luke. What are you thinking tomorrow? Are you confident that you can come to the Emirates and get another win in London?
We're away from home. At least we're away from Anfield at the moment. We can maybe get a result. I've said both teams are usually scoring this sort of game, but I'm going to go 2-0 Liverpool. I think Jota's going to get a couple. I think hopefully we pick the right team and hopefully we do go for this game. I think if we go with an attacking mindset, I do think that obviously Arsenal got their defensive problems at the moment with David Luiz out and they're a bit unsure. So I'm going to go 2-0 Liverpool with Jota getting a couple.
Well, he's a good player, Jota. So yeah, he's one we're going to have to definitely watch if he plays. He always had a good game against us for Wolves as well. What about yourself, Ricky? What are you thinking? Scoreline? Are you confident? Are you as confident as Luke that you're going to get the win, or do you think obviously you haven't got a great record at Emirates, have you? In recent years?
Nah. I think if we go full strength, we beat you 3-1. I think if he plays a mixture due to the Real Madrid game, I think it'll be 2-2.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be. It is going to be interesting to see the lineups, isn't it? Because we've both got a European game in a week, and we've got an extra day's rest before our game, so maybe we've got more option to play a stronger team. Maybe obviously your game's a little bit sooner. What are you thinking, Melvyn, for this one? Do you think we can repeat last year's result? Maybe.
Well, that was a smash and grab last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it certainly was.
I don't think we're going to do that again too often against Liverpool. No, I think that if you're saying is correct and we've got all these injuries, I think we might get beat 2-0. I agree with Luke. So it'll be, so negative. But I'm being honest there. I think we'll struggle. I think at some stage, Liverpool are going to give a team a hiding at some stage. I'm not saying it will happen against us, but it could do. If we've got a weakened team and we don't get off on the right foot like we did against West Ham, if we go down, if you nick a goal because we're not playing well, I can't see us getting back. I really can't. I think we could get beat. If the team is, as you say, the injuries, I think we could get beat by a couple tomorrow night.
Well, you're not right. For me, it is a tricky one to call because I think as we mentioned a bit earlier, I think both clubs have maybe got their mind slightly elsewhere for the rest of the season, in Europe and stuff like that. So I don't know what the lineups are first of all. But I say Liverpool are better away from home. Our home form's not great. Liverpool have not got a great record at the Emirates, so it kind of counteracts that a little bit. I suppose a draw. I fancy that 2-2 actually that Ricky said. I kind of fancy there'll be goals because I think Liverpool defensively haven't been as good this season, and I think if we can get our acts together going forward, we can score goals. We've certainly scored a few more recent games. So yeah, I think I'll go with the 2. I like that scoreline. It'd be a good game if it was 2. Hopefully we can nick it, but I don't know. Yeah, I think 2-2 I fancy. I mean, what do you think the key? Where do you think the game might be won and lost tomorrow then? Where the key areas is?
I think this game could be won in midfield. It depends. It depends what midfield Klopp decides to put out for me. I think if Fabinho and Thiago play in midfield, I think it's going to be really difficult for Arsenal to maintain. And again, I think the Arsenal battle in there depends who he picks. If Xhaka's not playing, it could be a bit more sort of freer there. I don't know. Obviously, I don't really watch too much Arsenal in that sense, but I think definitely the old cliche is going to be one in midfield. If Fabinho and Thiago are on it tomorrow, then I think it'll be very beneficial for us with the front three, getting the goals that we need to win the game.
Yeah, I think midfield is probably been our weakest area this season. What about you, Ricky? What are you thinking? Where do you think the key battles might be tomorrow?
Definitely midfield. Depends, like Luke said, what we put out in the midfield. Because our midfield is key to getting our front three heavily involved in a game. So hopefully Klopp picks the right midfield and we can sort of dominate the possession, get Thiago on the ball, let Thiago dictate with his passing ability throughout the game.
Yeah, no, that is definitely, I say, an area that we need to watch. What about you, Melvyn? Where do you think it's going to be? Where do you think the key battle is going to be tomorrow?
I'll tell you what. I sound very negative at the moment, boys, but I'll tell you what, it could be lost for us tomorrow if Holding and Bellerin play. I think down that Liverpool's left and our right hand side. Their wide men, Liverpool, are so good. Any mistakes we make down there, if we're not concentrating, if we're not in the right position, they will take advantage of Liverpool. That's where I see their danger coming from. If that is not the case, then I think, like you say, midfield's the key area. But I just think that's a very important area tomorrow. Our right defensive partnership at the back have got to play well, otherwise the Liverpool wide men will kill them. Especially Robertson as well coming through. He's a very, very good going forward. He gets those crosses in. So that's where I'm a bit worried about.
Yeah, I mean, what worries me is the fact that we seem to give teams goals in nearly every game lately. We did last time against West Ham. We did, pretty much every game, Olympiacos, and, we're doing it a lot lately, Burnley. So that kind of worries me that if we give Liverpool the goal, or it's going to be 10 times more difficult, isn't it, for us to get anything from the game, because Liverpool don't need help to score a goal with the front players they've got today. So I think we just need to be concentrated at the back, really. And if we can do that throughout the whole game, stay focused, then we've got a chance, because I think their defence can be got at, definitely. It's an inexperienced partnership, isn't it, at the back with the new guy that you've bought, and obviously Reece Williams, or a young player. So there's a weakness there for Liverpool. So if we can keep concentrated in our defence, I think we'll have chances to score. And that's how it's going to be. For me, that's going to be the key for us getting something out of this game, because we can't afford to keep giving away. Teams don't have to work for them goals against us, do they, very often? Even against West Ham, a lot of the goals that they scored in that game were down to our poor defensive play, wasn't it? Switching off and stuff like that. So if we do that tomorrow, then I can see us conceding a few, and then we're going to be in trouble. But let's hope we defend properly, and you never know. We might do an Aston Villa on them, and score 7. But I'm not sure about that, if I'm totally honest. Anyway, thanks to you guys, Ricky and Luke, for joining us tonight. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Just give your channel a plug in before you go, because people make sure that people are watching you guys and subscribing to your channel as well.
So Richard, thanks for letting me and Ricky come on. It's been an absolute pleasure to come on. Melvyn, thanks very much for for joining us as well. Like, it's been brilliant. Of course, our channel is the 1892 Reds podcast. We are available on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Instagram as well. Obviously, yeah, we've also done our preview for the show for the Arsenal Liverpool game tomorrow. Regular, obviously, content regarding Liverpool, of course. We've got our review straight after the game. So yeah, check us out. Subscribe to the channel. We're near 150 on the subscribers, so obviously, please help us subscribe to that target. And yeah, check us out.
Yeah, definitely do. I'll say I've watched a little bit of your channel over the last sort of week or so, obviously since you was coming on, and there's some great stuff on there. It's a good show. It's a bit of humour on there as well, which is nice. And I do like the ones that you do say with your best 11 and your worst 11, that kind of stuff. I think they're really good. So definitely a lot of good stuff to watch on their channel as well. Shane in the chat there said Liverpool win for me, but you never know what Arsenal will turn out. Well, you definitely don't. Great stream. Thanks. Thanks for watching, Shane. Thanks for your comments as well. Thanks to everyone else in the comments as well. Calvin put a comment there. Arteta has beaten Klopp 3 out of 4. Yes, he has actually. Although 2 of them were penalty shootouts. I don't know whether they really count, do they? But anyway, we'll take it, obviously.
Draws.
But yeah, draws. Penalty shootout. I mean, you want a Champions League on a penalty shootout, so don't dismiss penalty shootout. I'll be quite happy to win a Champions League on a penalty shootout. I've got to be honest.
Glorified draw, that is.
Yeah, glorified draw. Yeah, definitely. One of them was a community shield as well. But anyway, it's a trophy. Robert earlier on actually made a comment about his favourite midfield of all time, Liam Brady. Won me hundreds for the FA Cup final with Man United. It's not often mentioned yet. He was a wizard. No, well, he definitely was. I sort of didn't really see him play for Arsenal. I know Melvyn thought he was brilliant. And he said, obviously, we won 3-2. He had a cheeky bet on that, which was good. And Robert also, can you remember what year that was? That was 1979. Was that cup final. It was called the 5-minute final, wasn't it? Because of all the goals at the end. But actually, the 5-minute final was probably 2001 when Michael Owen scored twice in 5 minutes. So maybe that was a 5-minute final, really. And he said, were we too young? Well, I was only, I think, 10 or 11 at the time of that one. So I was born young. I mean, Melvyn would have been a baby in 1979, but I was about 11, so there you go.
I don't think I was, boys. That was the final that I went to saw Hanson for the Charity Shield. That's why we played Liverpool.
Yeah, it was
Charity
Shield. Yeah. Did he join Liverpool that summer then? Was that when he first joined them?
I don't know, but he'd never played for him before in the first team, I don't think. That was his first, it might have been his first outing in the Liverpool shirt for the first team. He might have been in the reserves before that. They bought him from Scotland, I know.
From Scotland, yeah, that's right, yeah. He was only young, but you don't win anything with youngsters, though, do you? So there you go.
No, you don't, no.
Anyway, we'll let him off because he wasn't too bad as a player.
Good player, great player.
He was a great player, yeah. I'll say it's been a pleasure for you guys coming on. It's been brilliant. I hope you've enjoyed the show. We really enjoyed it as well. I've got quite a lot coming up on the channel as well. So if you haven't done so, please subscribe and please like as well. I'm doing a watch along tomorrow of the game. It's 8 o'clock and it kick off a late one, so probably go live about 7:45, 10 to 8 with the team news and all that kind of stuff, and then do a watch along. And I probably will do a fan show afterwards, but it'll only be quick because it's going to be a late finish, and it's not going to finish till like 10 o'clock. So I might get maybe a couple of people on just quickly just to do something, but I don't want to go on all night because it's a late finish, which is a bit of a pain. And Shane says there was that final a replay. No, it wasn't a replay. No, it was just one in 90 minutes. Actually, it was an ITV file, was it? Oh, well, okay. It's been on telly a few times. It's a good game to watch. Obviously, a lot of goals and excitement at the end. And we won against Man United, which I'm sure we're all pleased about. Beating Man United is always a good thing, isn't it? You can't get too many beating Man United too many times. So yeah, thanks for everyone for watching. Thanks for your support of the channel. Make sure you give it a like before you go, and I say subscribe to the channel. Just before we go, Melvyn, where can people find you as well? Just before you leave us again.
On this channel, and from Dial Square to Where, and Mr. Arsenal, Ryan, Mr. Arsenal 89. And boy, really good to meet you two. Seriously, again, we've met some proper football fans, and it's lovely to meet you. Thanks for coming on.
Same.
Worries.
Really good.
Yeah, no, it's always good to get. So I like to speak to other teams fans, get a different perspective on everything, and Liverpool and Arsenal have a big history, and it's always great to reminisce about the two clubs as well, two of the biggest clubs in English football, probably the two biggest actually. Man United, Arsenal.
Happy with that.
Yeah. I mean, Man City and Chelsea, they don't know what it's about, do they? Them two, they're babies. They're not clubs, are they? It's Arsenal and Liverpool. So tomorrow's the biggest game of the season because it's the two biggest teams playing each other. So there you go. I'm sure enjoy the game tomorrow, guys, and
You too.
may the best team win as long as it's not Liverpool. And we'll speak again. We'll speak again soon, no doubt. And obviously, everyone else, thanks for watching. And I say, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you tomorrow for the watch along. In the meantime, of course, as always, come on, you Gunners, come on. 3 points tomorrow. Come on.